Hello and welcome to episode 9 of Giant Mess. I am your host, Neal Lynch. Some people know me by the name Real Cinch online on the interwebs. I am a giant mess, and I'm a Giants and Mets fan, unfortunately, who also likes movies, TV, comedy, all kinds of good stuff. On this week's episode, we're going to talk about my trip to the Warwick Winery to do apple picking with a toddler in the rain. That should be fun. We'll also talk about the Mets coming down the home stretch. Do they have what it takes to do the impossible and jump like 3 or 4 teams to get that final wild card spot? We'll talk about the Giants and the end of an era as I shed a single tear. We'll also talk about the 100 greatest TV shows for the 21st century a little bit, and we'll also talk about the 100 greatest plays in NFL history as determined by the NFL Network. So let's just dive right on in, folks. Let's start with the Warwick Winery tour, Warwick, New York. This is about an hour drive away. We went on Saturday. It was a friend's idea. They had been before. We had been before 2 years prior when we were not with child. It was my wife's birthday, and I decided she wanted to do some apple picking, so let's do some apple picking. You know, let's have a little wine. Let's do what every girl loves to do, just about. Not every girl. Maybe there's a girl out there who doesn't like apple picking and drinking wine. I'd like to meet her. I'd like to date her. I'd like to marry her. Nope. Backtrack. Not what I want. Warwick, New York. It's out there, and I get the appeal. You know, you're out in space. You're out in nature. You get to breathe in the fresh air. It's a great disconnect, especially if you live in like the metropolitan area, the New York City area, Hoboken, whatever. So we went, that time was a bit of a nightmare, and it was all my fault. I'm not disavowing. I'm taking full responsibility for how that went sideways. Okay. And it was all because of cable. Yeah. Cable TV trying to cut the cord. This is, September 2017, right? We just moved into a new house. We were renting the house at the time. And our cable term date was coming to an end. And I said to myself, you know what, cable? I've had enough of your shenanigans. All right. I've heard so much about cutting the cord. I feel like I'm almost behind the curve when it came to cutting the cord at the time. Time for me to cut the cord. And I tried to play ball with them. I said, hey, here's the deal. This is what I'm currently paying. This is really what I want. Give me what I want. You gave me what I wanted before during this promotional period where you're trying to hook me like a drug dealer, give me that free shit, and then hit me back on the vig later. Yeah, I get you, cable companies. I see through you. But like, hey, your customer retention stinks out loud. I can hear the stink coming from cable companies because I'm on the phone with you and I'm like, hey, I saw you're offering this for new users. Hook me up. I'm a current user. You want to keep me? Give me that deal. We can't do that. Oh yeah, you can't or you won't. So that was my. I'm spending like multiple hours at work trying to figure that out, trying to save this deal. You know, keep me as a Verizon customer, Fios. And they just weren't having it. Oh, we can offer you this, but then you got to pay this and and it's like, no, dude, here's the price. I have been paying and I want to continue to pay. Let me pay that. Nope. Okay, bye. So I cut the cord. The problem with cutting the cord is it's not that cutting the cord makes it sound so simple. Just cut that cord, baby, and then it's all good. Meanwhile, no, you have to kind of jump through some hoops. You know, you have to buy your own router. You have to select a streaming service that gives you a decent offering because not all the streaming services have all the channels. And you see commercials for Sling and you're like, hey, I know that guy. He's from Machete. And he's like, he's a pretty funny guy. He's a tough guy, but he's funny. And he probably knows cable, streaming, No, that guy doesn't know shit about streaming, but he's a recognizable face. And so I was like, all right, I'll try Sling. 20 some odd dollars a month. Oh, that's amazing. And then you check out the deal and you're like, wow, this is horrible. I mean, it's $20 a month. Obviously, you're not going to get anything. They're like, well, you can go to like 40 a month and get this. And they're like, oh, and then it's like, well, nope, I still don't get sports. So you need to add another 40, go another tier, another, it's just, it's insane. It's insane. It's insane in the membrane. So we got Sling and I couldn't watch CBS, which you can get over the air. It's literally like in the air. Just reach out and grab it. There's CBS. Nope. Can't do that. Can't do it through Sling for whatever reason. So when the Giants play the Seahawks and they're on CBS, hey, Neal, go fuck yourself. Okay. Right on, brother. So Sling was a dead end. And I love the people at Best Buy who are like, hey, check this out. Yeah, this antenna, it reaches has like a 50, 60, 80 mile radius. Where do you live? Oh, yeah, no problem. You might even get Philly stations. You might even get Connecticut and Boston stations. And I'm sitting there going, wow, I've been really missing the boat on this whole indoor antenna thing. No, that sucked. That sucked just as much. You're trying to watch like golf, and it looks like you're in the Matrix. Like you're seeing like vertical coding in Japanese language go up and down. There's like a glitch, and it's no. How am I supposed to enjoy that? That's you. That's you telling me that I got a picture. Well, you got a picture. Yeah, but this is not. It's an HD picture. Yeah, but it's like all over the place. I feel like an alien is trying to send me coded messages through the TV. Anyway. Don't do that. I don't care. If you don't have the money for cable or like the best streaming package, screw TV or just use Reddit. I don't care. It's a long-winded way of saying like Sling was not for me. But here's the deal. Cable stops on this date. Okay? Happens to be my wife's birthday. And the next day is we don't have cable anymore. So if we want TV, I need to go I need to go and get a router, something to get this internet to get the streaming service. And Sunday, everything's closed where we were, Bergen County. Bergen County, what is your deal? Sunday's not so sacred anymore, okay? Not sure if you've gotten the newsletter, but the devil's everywhere, okay? Sundays need to be open. The devil needs to be running rampant. He's winning. Your religion's losing. Your preferred religion. What I'm trying to get at is Sunday is Best Buy is closed. Saturday is the only day that we can go and get this router. If I don't go get it on Saturday, I'm not getting it for another week. And you know what's going to happen? I'm going to tell you, hey, my dear wife, we're not going to have cable for a week. And she's going to be like, okay. And then Monday comes around and here comes the Bachelor or the Bachelorette Monday, Tuesday. And she's like, so annoying. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Well, this is, so this is my vision of the future. Ominous as it is. And I'm like, we need to, let's just real quick, we'll go and get it. And of course, I have that on my brain. And the first thing I do when I wake up is, we got to go to Best Buy. Not happy birthday, my beloved. Not, I got you a gift and you are number one in my heart and my mind and my soul. None of that. We got to go to Best Buy. So immediately we're off on the wrong foot. I made the worst mistake possible upon opening my eyeballs, my eyelids. Not great. And it just was all downhill from there. Because, I'm now trying to get, I thought we could do, a brunch reservation. Very nice. Little mimosa, little bloody blomos, whatever. Nice brunch at a nice place. And she's like, we have got to get to this frickin' Warwick winery at this time. we woke up too late. Because who sets an alarm in the weekend? I mean, you're out of your mind. I'm not into that. Probably should have, though. And we woke up late. And I'm like, we got to go to Best Buy. And then we got to go to brunch, a sit-down brunch where I can romance you over eggs. Benedict. And then we can go to your winery. Nope, that's not happening. None of that's happening. So, that's when the fight happens. Because I'm already mad at myself for getting behind the 8 ball and for not doing the right thing and for essentially ruining my wife's birthday. I've ruined my wife's birthday pretty much every birthday that we've been together. It's just, I know it's coming. I get her the worst gift, and then I manage to mess up the actual day itself. Actually, kind of impressive if you look at the history behind it. So, we decide to, we're not going to do a sit down brunch. We're just going to quickly pick up some breakfast on the way. The wait's too long here. We go here. There's a line, it's just like, we're just running into dead ends everywhere. So finally we grab this food and it's like, it's one of those, I can still remember this. This is insane 2 years later that you walk into this place and I forget where it is. I forget the name. It's a small joint, but it's like the local hangout where people go to like shoot the shit and you're like on a friggin' time deadline. That's the worst. And when you're an outsider and no one knows you and everyone in the shop knows each other and you're the outsider and you're on a time frame and they're not, we should have just turned around and walked out. But instead I'm like sitting there like, bopping my head like, come on. In my head, I'm just like so anxious and it emanates. And I'm learning that now. Like people can see your face, Neal. There's no mask. You're transparent. You wearing your heart in your sleeve. Some people like that. Some people don't. A lot of people don't. And so when I'm trying to place my order and the guy's like, oh my God, can you believe the Yankees the other day? Oh my God, Jets and and it's just like, shut the fuck. Like, let's go. Let's get the ball moving. And then they come to you and they just know because they feel your eyeballs that you're anxious and they don't want to deal with you. And so they eventually are like, all right, I got to deal with this asshole. And they deal with you and their whole mood changes and they're like trying to like pick up your spirits. Sometimes they try to pick up your spirits. Sometimes they're just like, what do you want? And it's just like, hey, man, I don't want to be here any more than you want me to be here. So let's get this show on the road. And you get the breakfast. We get it. I'm trying to like call Best Buy to see like what the deal is. Like, can I come in later? When do you close? They were supposed to come to get serviced on a certain day, but we're not going to be there because we now have to go to the winery. But now she's telling me, we can go now after the wine. It's a mess. It's a giant mess. Wow. The show title in the episode. So we're in a bad mood. She's upset because, and now I'm upset because she's upset. And we're in the car and I'm driving there and she's, and this is, I think this might be a woman thing. Maybe it's just my wife thing. Like where she wants to talk it through. She wants to talk it out because I'm sitting there in silence stewing at myself for providing such a horrific birthday experience. And so she's pressing. And eventually I just, and I'm just trying to keep it together. And of course I don't, and I lose it. And I'm yelling, I'm hitting the steering wheel and like at 60 miles per hour, it's a sight to behold. Can't imagine what other people driving by were thinking when they saw that. Like, oh, here's an accident about to happen. Honey, get the camera. And I think she gave me one of her Xanax. So I don't know what the statute of limitations is on that. If you want to come and arrest her, DEA, go ahead. I don't know who's in charge. Who's the authority figure on that? What's the jurisdiction on giving a person a Xanax when they're like losing their mind? But then I also think I got an Adderall because it's like, I don't want to be a zombie. I got to focus. So now I got the Xanny and the Addy in my stomach, just like, yo, dude, I don't like you and you don't like me, but let's work together. It's like that meme that I don't know how memes get started or why they still remain popular to this day, but it's like a painting of the handshake between Arnold Schwarzenegger and Action Jackson, whatever the fuck his name is, black dude, super jacked. He was in Predator. It's a scene from Predator where they're like, you son of a bitch, and then they do the handshake, and they're like flexing their muscles and seeing how like big they can make their biceps. Someone made a painting of that, and now that's a meme. Okay, internet, whatever, dude. I will never understand you, but that was the Xanax was probably Action Jackson, and the Adderall, or maybe it's vice versa. The Adderall was Arnie, and they're shaking hands and coming together to fuck up my life. So let's go apple picking. You know, like that was the end goal, is like, we're going to pick apples. And of course you get a bag, you pay $30 for the bag, and you fill the bag with so many apples. And there's a picture of me on Instagram and maybe in Facebook where I'm just holding up the apples and I don't even look happy. I'm just like, this is what we're doing. This is it. This is a bag of apples and we picked it. But you know, you go, it's actually a nice experience because it was, out in the sun, and you get to just relax and walk through the orchards and see all the different apples and pick. And then you see a horse and you're like, wow, horses still exist. And then they have like the haunted hay ride, but without any of the haunting. Tractor ride, maybe that's what it's called. And that's cool. You just kind of like sit back and relax and just enjoy the ride, nice and slow. And then comes the hard cider and the wine, and you taste that, and there's all these different flavors, and you start to come down to earth, and you start to, you relax, and you're like, this was a good time, even though I completely fouled it up from the moment consciousness came into my life. I was messing it up. So then 2 years later, hey, let's relive this. Let's go back to the scene of the crime where I lost my mind and needed multiple medications just to get right, so my wife can have the birthday she deserves. So, but this time let's throw a toddler into the mix. Oh boy. So we met some friends at the winery. It's about an hour drive, as I said, and overcast, rainy, just a gloomy kind of day, kind of the weather for a horror movie, I would say. Like, there's horror about to take place with this rain and this overcast cloudiness. And so we drove up with a friend who stayed over the night, met our other friends, and I experienced this when I was single, when I was the only single person among all my group of friends, and they all had toddlers. It's like I had a joke about this in my stand-up set, but like everyone just gets together, has secret meetings and huddles up and is like, hey, let's all just get married and have kids at the same time. How does that sound? And then someone's like, thinks of me, and they're like, yeah, but what about Neal? And I'm like, and I'm like, hey guys, who wants some jungle juice? And then they're like, nah, he's not ready. So I'm actually, ironically enough, that was me, where I'm like way behind the curve. Everyone else is having kids, and by now they're all 8, 9, 10 years old, and I'm just having kids. But the experience I had back then was, I'm trying to talk to the parent face to face, and they're just not listening at all. Their focus is not on my words, my mouth, anything. My face is just like, it's like that episode of Black Mirror with John Hamm, where it's just like, the face is all scribbled out and the voice is all muted or like warped, like Charlie Brown's teacher. That's what it's like talking to a parent who's like very focused on what their child is doing. Where's the kid? What's he doing? What's she doing? You know, and that's all you're thinking about when you're the parent. Well, when you're single, you're like, hey, man, just 2 seconds. Give me 2 seconds to tell you this stupid story about me hooking up with this chick from Friday night. No? Okay. Go get your kid. Well, now I get it. I'm on the other side of the fence now, and I completely get it. But I'm trying my best to focus in the conversation with my friends, because I understand like what it feels like to have someone just kind of like push you aside, like completely just, you're not priority number one. I don't give a crap what's coming out of your vocal cords. And it's true, because like you're just, especially with a toddler who's one and mobile, you're headed on a swivel. You're just trying to figure it out. Where, when, how, why. And that was basically most of the winery experience, was just like chasing my daughter down. Chasing her down. You don't want to, you can't hold her, because you hold her and she's just squirms, wormy worms. And you try to keep her in the stroller, and she starts crying, and it's the way that she cries. It's like, it just sets off so many alarms with other people in the area. They're like, oh my God, what are they doing to that child? Ooh. It's like, oh, okay, let's just set her free on this place and let her run roughshod over everything. I mean, just streaking over other people's blankets, cutting through groups of conversations with no regard, just like not stopping or looking, just barreling right through. And just like trying to get involved in other kids playing, like their kids playing catch, and she's like trying to get involved with them. She's like trying to navigate down a steep decline hill, and I'm like, I'll let you go a step or two before you realize like you're tumbling. And of course, a lot of people think it's cute. I think for the most part, which helps, you know. But there's one thing that is like for sure guarantee, is that Bree is into the boys. It is remarkable. And I don't know if it's because at her daycare, they're mostly boys in her daycare, in her school, in her class, or what. But when she's fine around boys, she likes to mix it up. She likes to have some fun. The moment she gets face to face with a girl or anything, it's just like, and I might have said this before, it's like Rocky IV. It's like Stallone versus Dolph Lundgren, the Big Red Machine versus the Italian Stallion. It's just a showdown. It's just like, what the fuck are you gonna do about it, baby? Like it is intense. And I'm like, whoa, is there a knife fight about to break out here? Because there's like animosity that I didn't know could possibly exist between two baby girls. But that's kind of the lay of the land right now. It's just how it works. Outrageous. And we didn't even go apple picking. We spent 3 hours there. We set up a blanket, like kind of a picnic area. We bought like so much bad food for you. You know, just everything fried and dry. I mean, the flatbread pizza is good. It's hard to mess that up, but just a lot of chips and fries and just like stuff that's just horrible for you. And the kid is an eater. My daughter's an eater. She just is, and that's just like the number one compliment that she's gotten so far, which is a little, I don't know how to feel about it. They're like, yeah, she's a good eater. And you're like, I don't know how to take that. Do you want me to dial it back? Do you want me to not have her not eat so well? Struggle with the eating? What are you trying to tell me right now? What is this message you're laying on me? She's a good eater. Okay, cool. But I mean, it's to the point where we just put a fry in your mouth and you're already reaching for the second fry. Like, just give the first fry a shot. Let the first fry interact with your taste buds. Do they have taste buds at that age? I don't know. So that was the tour. I mean, not the tour, the winery, the Warwick Winery. I got to break out the vest. And this is the other thing, and I'll leave with this for the winery experience. I wore my vest. I broke out my vest for the first time. That false fall. Maybe this is the fall. this appears to be the fall. We're starting to get like the 50s, 60s, 70s. It's that kind of weather where you just don't know how to dress. No matter what you pick, you're wrong. Oh, you're going to wear shorts? Oh, you wear shorts with a hooded sweatshirt? Oh, it's like you can't win. The weather is like in a spot where it's like you're wrong either way. But it's like apple picking, hard cider, horses. I got to wear a vest. So I wore my vest. First time for the vest this fall. Good time to break it out. And we're pulling into the parking lot. And roll down my window because they have the guys out there coordinating the parking spaces and whatnot. Roll down my window. Guy comes up. He's like, yeah, just pay that guy and follow the guy over there with the flag or whatever. And he goes, cool vest. And I don't know what happened to me over the course of my life and maybe a past life where I can't take a compliment. No matter how genuine, authentic it is, I cannot take it because I feel like it's a dig. It's just it's ingrained in my brain, ingrained in my DNA. I cannot take a compliment. This guy, all he said was cool vest. He might have said cool vest, man. I don't think he said cool vest, bro. Maybe he did. And I think I said thank you. I don't know. I might have blacked out because it's just like my first thought is, okay, is he making fun of me? Is this like him trying to ignite a fight? Like, is that what's happening right now? And I mentioned it. I was like to my wife and my wife's friend, like, I can't tell if that guy was serious. I can't tell if he was being nice. Like, because rarely do guys, in my experience, do guys compliment other guys about what they're wearing? And if they do, it's always like, here comes the dig. Here comes the put down. Here comes the crack. Here comes the roast. Here comes the burn. It's like a little primer. It's a little appetizer for you. And that's, as a guy, that's how you know it's coming. And then you brace for impact. Because you're like, compliment? Here it comes. Like, it's the calm before the storm. You know. But I moved it along because it's like there's a line. I gotta park the car. Didn't find out if that guy meant it. I could see him liking the vest. I like the vest, but a lot of what I like, people don't like. So I can very easily see that being. And he might have gone to his other friends and been like, dudes, I saw a dude wearing the worst vest ever. And I told him cool vest, and he said thank you. And them just laughing until they perish. They just expire right there from laughter. Because and you know, it's amazing how simple it can be sometimes. You know, I think I try so hard for laughs sometimes, and it doesn't need to be that hard. Cool vest, man. Boom, laughs. Anyway. So that's the Warwick Winery. What a place to be. What a time to be alive. But it is the setting of a horror movie for sure. Absolutely. I had no doubt about it. And I don't know that it got us because there's like a section where it's like there's a cemetery, and then you look over at the street sign, it says Amity Road, and you're like, wait, Amity, where have I heard that before? Amityville? So is this where Jaws took place? But also, is this where the Amityville House of Horrors was? Like the horror house, last house, and whatever that is? And then you go down, you're trying to figure it out, you're Googling, and you know, it's like, I don't know. I don't want to end up here. I don't want this to be my final destination. I don't think it is, for the record, but I mean, if you know, maybe play that up. You know, if that isn't the actual place, at least play it up. Not to mention that, you know, the day before was Friday the 13th. And I mean, I didn't have anything bad happen on Friday the 13th, but FandangNOW was running a special. So when we came back from the winery tour on Saturday, the special was still running. You could buy all 8 Friday the 13th films for $13. That's less than $2 per film. I don't know how you pass up on that. Because I mean, a single film now you can purchase for like $20. And a lot of time you're looking at like, why the fuck would I pay $20 for this piece of shit? Well, I can get 8 for 13. And, you know, I still feel compelled. I felt compelled to watch all 8 right back to back in a row. And we just got through one. We just got through Friday the 13th, the original, which happens to be the best of the bunch. It's got the best ratings. But what's crazy to me is like, it's like barely Rotten Tomato ratings. It's like fresh. Okay. There's rotten and there's fresh. Come on, Neal, spit it the fuck out. So there's rotten and fresh, and that's the only fresh movie of Friday the 13th, and it's barely fresh. So I'm like, holy macaroni. The fact that they made 8 of these, and this one's barely fresh, and the rest are rotten. I mean, talk about just really driving a franchise into the middle of the earth. all for that sweet cash. You know, because at least with Saw or Fast and Furious franchise, the ones that are getting to that 8 level, you had a couple fresh ones in there. Am I wrong? So I think Friday the 13th must have set a record for the most rotten movies within a franchise outside of maybe Transformers, which I also went on a Transformers kick and I almost got through it all. And it's like a lot of those rotten ratings. It's like, who are you? What do you think you're reviewing, dude? It's robots from space. It's not friggin' the English Patient. What? I mean, like, come on. Have a little leniency here. But yeah, some of it was pretty bad. The Transformers series. Yeah. But I was like, you know what? Let's just power through it. There's an appeal here. I'm going to find it. And you know what it is? It's cool shots from Michael Bay, lens flares, and explosions. And finding out how many hours they spent on when the Transformers actually go from a car to like a person looking type thing. That looks cool. I don't know. A lot of the stuff in there is like, I can't believe that this got by so many people in the filmmaking process. But, so maybe, yeah, Friday the 13th is like the Transformers of the 80s. I don't know. We watched the first one, and I gotta say, it's kind of hard to believe that Friday the 13th 1 has such fresh ratings. And I think it's just, it's it's kind of a time capsule thing, like a product of its time. Like first one came out in 1980, and I was born in 1980, and I don't think very familiar with a lot of the elements, characters, storylines, etc. I never watched any of them. I'm just not a horror fan. And we'll get to why in a second. But Friday the 13th, you're watching it and you're like, you see the fresh ratings and there's 8 of these motherfuckers. So you're like, this is considered a classic. Okay. This is considered one of the greatest horror movies and franchises of all time. So your expectations go way up. And plus you got the Friday the 13th, actual Friday the 13th, the juju still working on you, even though it's a day later. And so you just kind of like, you get your hopes way too up, like you always do, Neal. And you're watching it, and right away you're like, whoa. Did we like order the wrong movie? Like, is this actually like a porno? Is this a porn parody of Friday the 13th? Or is this like a very, very, very close knockoff? So like there's a knockoff of Transformers called like Robot Overlords. And if you don't look at the title and you just look at the thumbnail, I'm like, oh, it's a Transformers click buy. Like, did we do that with Friday the 13th? And it was really like Friday the 13th, FRYDAY. And you're like, oh my God, we got duped. Because it looks like a film school student's final project meets a porno. And you're thrown off. Because and I think this happens with a lot of movies from the 80s. Is just the pacing is different. I remember this happened with Stripes too. You're just like, wow, there's a lot of stuff that they probably could just cut. Like with Friday the 13th, the conversation with the hitchhiker and the truck driver is just like, so you going to that camp? Cut to the girl. Yeah, I'm going to that camp. Cut to the truck driver. It's like, hey, let's tighten it up a little bit. Let's go. There's a lot of that where it's just like, why are we letting this film just fly? Let's be a little tighter about this, folks. Oh, the other thing that I think happened a lot pre-90s or 2000s. I don't know when it stopped, but there was a lot of this in Friday the 13th where it's like, we're gonna have a shot of a car driving down the road towards the camera, and then we're gonna have a shot of the car driving all the way away from the camera. It's like, we don't need that. Cut that. Give me a second of it. And then that's it. Like the crazy guy on the bike who's talking about, oh, it's cursed. God, blah, blah, blah. Like, who's just hanging out in that closet. That was weird. They open the closet and he's like there and he's like, you're cursed. And it's like, get the hell out of here. And they're just like, get the hell out of here, old man. Like, that's a crazy guy. Be a little more guarded than get the hell out of here, crazy guy. And then he gets on his bike. And this is the second time it happened. The first time it happened is the first time he's on screen and he like pops out of nowhere to the hitchhiker and he's like, it's cursed. And then you watch him get on his bike and then you watch him ride away on his bike for like 5 seconds. Like, I don't need to see that shit. And then they do it again after he pops out of the closet. He like walks away like, it's cursed. And then he gets on his bike and you watch him on this fucking bike down a path or a trail for like 10 seconds. And you're like, is he going to get hit? Is someone going to jump out and stab him? Like, and maybe that's kind of plays into what they're hoping for, which is like, you're on the edge of your seat. Like, what's going to happen next? Oh my God, he's riding down the trail. Is something going to happen? Nope. Nothing happens. And they just do that repeatedly. And the movie's only like 90 minutes long. 95 minutes. Can you imagine? There's got to be like a cut of this on YouTube somewhere where it's like, we're going to cut all the excess bullshit, trim the fat, and the movie's probably around 70 minutes. That being said, it's like you have to kind of remind yourself, dude, it's 1980. Like, it's not 9/11 hasn't happened. The Challenger hasn't happened. Like, not that should affect filmmaking that much, but like, just give it a break. I love that Kevin Bacon is in this. Random. Did not know that. I was expecting like him to just like teach everyone how to dance at the cabin. He gets it on with a girl and he suffers. I mean, spoiler alert, it's now almost 40 years later, but spoiler alert, he suffers. This was like, that death was, I'm not a horror fan. I don't like to see people die. I don't like gore. That was pretty cool. Like he's laying in the bed and you think that he like feels the blood dripping from a mattress above him and the bunk bed situation where the other guy, the Ned or whatever his name is, the most annoying guy in the world. He has his throat slashed and he's just laying there and bleeding. You're like, oh my God. And then Kevin Bacon wipes it away and you're like, oh, he's going to discover that the guy's on the bed above him. And then all of a sudden it's like a corkscrew or something goes through his friggin' jugular, his neck comes out the front side. And you're like, wow. Did not see that. So there were a couple times like the woman who takes the axe to the face. I was like, oh, that's a pretty cool effect. The hitchhiking that alone blew us away. I mean, that's how far we've come as society. Is like that was commonplace back then. Like, hey, you need to go from here to here. No Uber, no Lyft, no sidecar, none of that nonsense. There's not a cab for miles and miles. So you gotta stick out the thumb and just get in some rando's car or truck and have awful conversation. And like I hate to be that guy who like points out problematic shit because it's like it's so rampant. Like we get it. Like times have changed, people have changed. You know, we did a binge watch of Friends, and there's some stuff in Friends that's like, oh, okay, yeah, it's not cool anymore. But like, I don't know. We don't need to harp on it. There's a lot of sexual harassment in this Friday the 13th. Like the female characters, and maybe that's why the ending's so cool. And maybe that's why it got so many fresh ratings is like you had like the boss wearing the glasses and the mustache and you're like, you were either a serial killer or a pedo or something bad. And he's the guy who's trying to reopen the camp after the boy drowned and the two teens were murdered in 1958. He's trying to reopen the camp and he's just like full on harassing one of his employees who like has to go to California. I thought that was weird. But like every interaction between a guy and a girl is just the guy being like, you're a sweet little thing. Let me shit. And it's just like, whoa, dude. Damn. That was just like, you know. When I was younger, I was like, what is wrong with women? And now you kind of, not to be like, I'm like this white knight feminist guy now, but you see some of the shit now and you're like, yeah, I get it. You had to deal with a lot. Until you see it, you know, I didn't have a lot of girlfriends. I had a sister, but I was way older than her. So if you don't see it, experience it, you're just like, come on. And then you see it and you're like, Jesus, it's like everywhere. So, we did not watch Friday the 13th part 2. I'm very excited at some point to sit down. I mean, you know, Halloween's coming up, so we have all of October, but I'm very excited at some point to sit down and watch the one where he takes Manhattan. I loved how we went through the titles when we first bought it because I was like, I didn't know there were 8, first of all. But second of all, I also love that they did try to end it at one point. Like after the fourth one, it was like Friday the 13th part 4, the end or something like that. It was like the beginning of the end. It clearly indicated, the title clearly indicated like this one is it. We're wrapping it up. No more. And then like a year or two later, it was like part 5, New Blood. And you're like, oh my God. Damn you and your money grabbing ways. But I am excited for Jason Takes Manhattan. I think that was actually the last one. They're like, we can't do many more of these. Ironically, and then what stinks is, I don't even think we got, as part of the package or the bundle, we don't even get like Freddy versus Jason. Apparently that's like outside of the package, which that sucks. And then there was like, I think there was Jason Goes to Hell and Jason in Space. And I don't think we got any of those. That's kind of a bummer. I am all for taking that Jason into very weird places. I also didn't know Camp Crystal Lake was in New Jersey. Hope, New Jersey. Ha 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 ha. So clever. Ha ha ha. But the fact that it's the mom at the end, I mean, you know, spoiler, that's the mom is the killer. Jason's mom is the killer in the first part. That was cool. And I think that was very kind of groundbreaking for that time to have, you know, have it be a female, the villain, the antagonist. I mean, you had the sense it was someone familiar. It wasn't, you know, even though, you know, just from having a working brain that, you know that Jason is a thing that wears a mask and has a machete and goes around killing. So you have that in your head. And then it turns out like, oh, it's his mom is the killer. That's a cool little twist. And I think it speaks to like, and maybe that was the commentary they're trying to make. Like you have all these female characters that are not being treated seriously to a certain extent, who are just viewed as these objects and are sexualized and blah, blah, blah. And then it turns out the female is like coming to get you. They probably were not trying to make that message, but cool nonetheless. We did not watch part 2, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately. And I say that because that night I had one of the worst night terrors in history. Pretty bad. I have night terrors, and I don't know if you could tell by looking at me, but I had a joke that nightmares are like, or night terrors are like nightmares on LSD, PCP, PlayStation View, Xbox, and ESPN. Like it's another level of nightmare, essentially. And this is what is so fitting for me. It's just like, let's give them another thing that's not curable. Night terrors are not curable, and they never happen in adults. It's like all kids. And like trying to find any information about it for adults, it's like, do this with your kid. It's like, what if you're not a kid? Because apparently, a majority is kids, and then they just grow out of it. And I'm like, oh, when do I grow out of it? That'd be great. 38. When do I grow out of it? So I've had night terrors since I was, I want to say 7 or 8 years old. I don't know what the cause is. Usually night terrors happen with 3-year-olds or toddlers, not necessarily 8-year-olds. So that was weird. I've had some brutal ones over the years. And what to back up one step, when you have a night terror, you are screaming bloody murder. You are very physically active. So you're physically trying to remove yourself from the danger or the threat that you're feeling or seeing or whatever, experiencing in your sleep. Usually occurs about an hour after you go to bed. And you don't remember it most of the time, which is awesome. So many times I wake up and there's like mysterious cuts on me or bruises. And my throat is like, oh, I feel like I've been singing for 14 hours straight. Like it's just, I feel like Adele post-surgery. Like what, it's rough because you wake up and sometimes you're like, oh man, ooh, I got a good night's sleep last night. And you walk downstairs and everyone's just looking at you like, dude, what happened to you last night? It's just like, I went to bed and then I woke up. And that's it. And it's like, nope, you thought like you were being attacked by spiders with machine guns. Like, that kind of bullshit. The night terrors that have stuck out to me, this is my all-time greatest night terrors list. I'm ranking the all-time great, whatever. For example, one of the first ones I had when I was like 8. We were living in Westwood, Massachusetts, and I woke up in the middle of it, and I was running down the hallway, and I hurdled our dog, who is not a small dog. So kudos to me for having the athletic ability to hurdle a dog while I'm having a night terror. Could I have done it while not having a night terror? I don't think so. I think night terror gives you superhuman abilities, which I'm trying to write a script about it. It's up here. Got to get down on paper. Superhero that has night terrors. Huh? Kind of like Watchmen-esque. Anyway. So hurdled a dog. One of the first ones I had. Another one I had was a couple of years later. We're living in Cranston, Rhode Island. And I woke up in the middle of it, and I thought ants were carrying light bulbs up the wall. How that's a threat to me? You got me by the balls. Do not know. My father came, and the worst is like You really believe what's happening is happening, even though you a minute later, you're like, I cannot believe I thought that. But so the person who comes in I guess you're not supposed to interrupt, but you're supposed to calmly, it's kind of like straight out of Step Brothers. When they're sleepwalking, it's like, don't interrupt them. You don't know what, it's bad. Don't interrupt them. And then they end up carrying them, throwing them down the stairs. It's kind of similar with a night terror. Like, you're not supposed to like physically shake the person or yell at them. You're supposed to calmly, soothingly be like, you're a psychopath. It's okay. You belong in a mental hospital. It's okay. Like, you're supposed to talk them down off the ledge, and then they'll slowly come out of it. And they'll probably be angry at you, but inside, they're not angry at you. They're very happy that you were able to put this nightmare train to bed. And that's what happens with a night terror. So, my dad comes in and he's like, hey, you're having a night terror. And immediately there's denial. No, I'm not, asshole. And I'm like 11. I'm calling my dad an asshole. It's like, whoa, night terrors. They turn you into something you don't want to be. So, yeah. I'm like, Dad, there are very obviously ants carrying light bulbs up that wall. And he's like, no, they're not. Just take a look. And you look, and of course, no, there's not. And then you're still in denial mode, and you go, yeah, well, there were. Like, they just all scattered when you came in the room, obviously. They're still in here somewhere, but they saw you, and they took off. Like, oh, boy. So you feel like a jerk for being so stubborn. So that was, I was 11, 12. That's also when I was introduced to like poltergeist, like ghosts and stuff like that. We were like at school, very hardcore, in-depth, doing studies about paranormal activity type stuff. And anytime my parents left the house with my sister and I was home alone, it was like, I'm going to stay in bed under the covers until Kingdom Come. Fast forward to high school. This is another great night terror. I think this was freshman year. Yeah, freshman year. We're living in a 2-story house, and I woke up in the middle of it, but I woke up right when I bulldozed through my dad in the hallway. So I got up out of bed and I was running down the hallway towards the stairs. The stairs are right by where my parents' bedroom was. My dad came out like, okay, I played football in college. I was on offense, but I think I know how to handle a hit. And he came out, and I superhuman, like, juggernaut that hoe. I'm the juggernaut bitch, and I just went right through him and slid on my stomach, head first, down a flight of stairs that were carpeted. Which, now I'm thinking about it, probably was better for me than if they hadn't been carpeted. I just would have flown right down and maybe break my neck. But the carpeting, what sucked about the carpeting is you get like this huge rug burn on my front side, on my belly, my tum-tum. And, but it does slow you down. And then once I slid down a flight of stairs, unfazed, was then trying to get out the front door. Luckily, it was locked, and I did not make it out into public in my boxers, in my Tommy Hilfiger boxers that had holes in them. So that was one of the worst in high school, I'd say. College was different because it was like I just drank my dick off. It was just booze and occasionally pot or weed, whatever you want to call it. They called it grass in Friday the 13th, and we love that. Grass. Yeah, so it was just like, I'm just going to self-medicate till the cows come home. That's what I'm going to do to get over this. Because originally in freshman year, I would take, we tried everything for this. Hypnotherapy, hypnosis. I went to a hypnotist, and his kind of sketchy. My parents were driving the boat on this one in high school. I think it was junior year. They take me to this hypnotist in the area. Might have been Hamilton. And I go into his basement. And I'm like, do we have to go in the basement, dude? That's like the one place I don't want to go in someone's house. That's where the murder is. and the bodies. So we go in this random guy's basement, and he puts me under, supposedly. I don't know. I kind of felt like I was not under. And he's trying to trace back to whatever the traumatic event was that caused these to start. Take me back to a time. And I vaguely remember telling him, like, hey, when I was, riding my bike home from school in 3rd grade in Westwood, when I was 8, I got stopped by a bunch of bullies who wanted to steal my bike, and I stood up to them. So it's like, I guess it's traumatic. It's my first bullying experience of that nature, where I'm being physically intimidated. Ironically enough, the guy who's bullying me, who was bigger than me, and was about to beat me into oblivion, turned out to be my running back on the Pop Warner team. I was the quarterback. He was the running back. Awkward. Anyway. So yeah, that was a bullying experience, and it's like, there's no way that's the cause. But he seemed to think maybe that might be it. I mean, I was also, when I moved to Lenoir, North Carolina, we're getting really off topic and tangential. I don't give a fuck. In Lenoir, North Carolina, when we first moved there, I was getting death threats in the mail. Fantastic. Death threats. 10-year-olds, dude. 10-year-olds. Sending death threats, writing letters. I can't imagine a 10-year-old sitting down and writing a fucking letter threatening death. That's the one that last part is the one that's kind of unbelievable. I can see, like, I wrote a letter, to Nintendo saying, hey, you need to make Howard Johnson's 30-30 Club as a baseball video game, and here are the rules, which are just basically baseball rules. I did that with pictures that I drew. I don't think they got back to me. Maybe they did. Got to ask Mom. But like a death threat? I don't even know as a 10-year-old how you would go about killing someone other than just saying, I'm going to kill you. Because like you don't know how guns work. Like you haven't seen a lot of like action movies. So you're just like, I'm just going to kill you. Not sure how, but I'm 10. I'll figure it out eventually. Yeah. And then getting choked out. Now it's just an all-time greatest list of me just getting bullied. 8th grade on the bus. Kid behind me grabbed my hooded sweatshirt, the hood, and just yoinked up and was essentially hanging me. It was a public hanging. Not sure what I did. Not sure what crime. It wasn't witchcraft. I don't think I robbed a bank in the late 1840s. Like, I don't know what I did, but this kid was hanging me by my hood. My favorite hooded sweatshirt too. Couldn't wear it after that. Washington Huskies hooded sweatshirt. That was in my school photo in 8th grade, and couldn't wear it after that. No thanks. Reminded me of not being able to breathe. I don't think they took the bus after that. Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't. So that's kind of like growing up. What might have contributed to night terrors, I don't know. College, self-medicated, pretty much didn't have them unless it was like coming out of withdrawal on like a Sunday night and you're watching Cheaters at 3 a.m. and you're just like, man, I know I shouldn't be drinking right now, but I have to go to bed and I don't want to freak out the whole fraternity house. Which it takes a lot to freak out an entire fraternity house. Night terrors can do it. Trust me. So, freshman year in college, I started on Ambien. It's the drug that Tiger Woods was on when he was out crashing his SUV and getting hit with golf clubs and cheating. He had Ambien in his system, I guess. I don't know. I guess it's also a sexual thing, which I didn't find out till Role Models, that movie with Paul Rudd and Sean William Scott, a.k.a. Stifler. That you can take Ambien, and if you force yourself to stay awake, you start seeing things, and it also like heightens your sexuality. Didn't know that at the time. Wish I did. And of course, now they have commercials about how you can sue. It's a class action lawsuit against the makers of Ambien because it kills your liver. I don't know, dude. I'm not, whatever. I'm going to get $1 from that. Great. Anyway, I would take Ambien freshman year in college, and it would give me, if you don't get like 8 hours of sleep, it gives you horrific like hangovers as if you were drinking all night, which I wasn't freshman year. I really wasn't. freshman year, I was a good boy. And you wake up and you're foggy, you're groggy, you're all the Augies, and sometimes soggy. So Ambien had to go, and I had a roommate at the time, a guy who like didn't need Ambien and had bottles of Aftershock, empty bottles of Aftershock on his wall, just lined up along the wall on his little mantle with glow sticks in them. And I was like, this guy's cool. He brought home like 2 chicks, like the first night. I'm there. We don't have air conditioning. The fan doesn't work. It's like fucking 95 degrees in Baltimore. And I have like football training camp the next morning, 7 a.m. And I'm just laying there like a starfish, like Patrick from SpongeBob, and my tighty whities sweating my dick off. And he's bringing home 2 broads. And they see me in the tighty whities and they're laughing. And he's like kind of hooking up with both of them. I'm like, this is not how I pictured college. I thought I'd be doing that. And not this, but so I had to move out of that room and I got a medical clearance to get my own room, because it's like, I can't be rooming with someone because I might murder them in my sleep with these friggin' night terrors. And of course, he thought it was on him. He thought I had a problem with him. Not in the case. It was the fact that I had to take this stupid pill that makes me a zombie. And it's like, I'd rather just have a night terror in a padded room and go about my day clear and focused. Still ended up on Act Pro, but who gives a shit? Does anyone look at that? Does anyone care? No. Cool. So yeah, college was after that. After I broke up with my girlfriend, it was like, let's just intoxicate. Let's just get neck deep in all the substances. So college didn't necessarily have a problem with it, here and there, maybe. And then post-college, I think the biggest one I had was living in Hoboken. And it was one weekend, and I woke up and it was like a tornado or hurricane hit my bedroom. I had a full-length mirror that was just like face down, broken. The lamp was on the floor, broken. There was like the sheets were everywhere. The TV was like dangling off the edge of my wardrobe, the dresser. There were like clothes out of the closet. My keyboard, it was just like, I think I've been vandalized. I think someone robbed me, and just me, in this 3-bedroom apartment. Came in and robbed just me overnight. Nope, night terror. That was bad. And there's a funny story attached to that I'll probably tell in private at some point. Maybe down the road. Who knows? Just meet me. Call me, text me, and I'll walk you through it. Pretty funny stuff. Can't tell it here. Sorry. Maybe I'll offer I'll do the Mike Francesa route and just offer like $8 a month, and I'll tell you the crazy story that will ultimately offend my loved ones. So that was the worst one post-college, I think, pretty much. And then there was this one. I know that's a long build-up, a long setup to this one. But what's insane is like, okay, you watch Friday the 13th, and I'm like, I'm not scared watching that. Like, there are a couple moments where I'm like, oh, but it's not like, like big gasps or like chills or goosebumps or like, I like might have sharted a little bit. No, like I peed a little bit. No, there was none of that. It was just like, this is kind of campy. This is kind of funny. A couple of surprising moments, but nothing that's like, oh man, not going to be able to sleep tonight. And we actually, because my wife's friend was over. So it's like, well, you guys have control of the TV. You can watch whatever you want. I'm just going to hang here. I might check it out. I might just be on Twitter. I'm going to watch the Mets game on the iPad, whatever. You can pick whatever you want. And they picked Colette. It's like an indie film about a female who's a ghostwriter. She's a wife to a guy who's like a writer, but she ends up ghostwriting for him. And it's like, it's a very kind of like not scary movie. And then, of course, I have one of the worst night terrors ever. That night, after watching Colette and Friday the 13th. Now, granted, stress plays a factor, and it's been very stressful over the past 2 weeks because we had the birthday party we had to plan for and get ready for while I'm doing job interviews in a city where I'm commuting. I'm dressing up, I'm preparing, I'm doing tests. So yeah, there's a lot of stress going on. So I get that. We also ran out of CBD oil. Here's my plug for CBD oil. I've tried, and I know I already sound like a fucking infomercial. I've tried everything. Like literally, the Ambien, that's one thing I tried melatonin. That made me severely depressed, which is weird because it's not supposed to. St. John's wort. What else? There's a shit ton of things that I've tried. Oh, hey, here's a suggestion. Why don't you wake yourself up an hour after you go to sleep and prevent that thing from happening? It's like, no, dude, I'm not doing that. Figure it out. Figure something else out. I mean, come on. And this is what sucks. It's like it affects so few adults that the scientists are like, hey, Dad, we got bigger fish to fry. Okay. We'll get to your night terrors after the AIDS and the cancer and all that other shit. Okay. You're not, wait your turn. So yeah, there's no cure for it, for night terrors. And I've been taking CBD oil, and the CBD oil appears to work. I don't know. It just seems to work. And we ran out, and I had a bunch of Miller Lights beers, and it's like, and this is the weird thing, like you need to be able to get drunk for the beer or the booze or the alcohol to get you through the night without a night terror. You can't just be like, hey, I'm kind of buzzed. Nope, not going to work. That actually might induce the night terror even worse. I think that's what happened here is like I had a few beers, wasn't drunk, went to bed, and woke up with my heart racing. I'm talking like, 150 beats per minute? Like 250 beats per minute. This thing was like when at the end of I Am Legend, when like he's dialing up and dialing back the zombies, I guess, whatever the hell they are, at the heart rate. And it's like if it gets above a certain thing, like I was an I Am Legend zombie at that point. Like my heart is going way too fast for the human body, and I'm breathing heavy and panting, and I'm holding in one hand, I'm holding a pillow, and the other hand, I'm holding a neck pillow because I like to sometimes wear the neck pillow while I'm watching TV, but I'm holding it like a weapon, like it's a boomerang of death. No, it's a pillow. And my wife is like, you're okay, you're all right, you're okay. And immediately is like, that's one of I have not even out of the night terror yet. And she's already telling me like, that's one of the worst night terrors you've ever had. And I believe it because I try to go back to sleep and I thought maybe I shouldn't go back to sleep at this point. We had our friend stay over, my wife's friend stayed over, and, she's never been subjected to that. And I feel for her more than anything. And the first thought was, did the baby wake up? And no, the baby didn't wake up. I was screaming no repeatedly at the top of my lungs. I woke up, I had to have woken up neighbors. And I look on the monitor and she's just like, like, are you kidding me? If we walk by your room and the floor just creaks just a little bit, you're up and you pop up. But I'm trying to fend off monsters in my sleep and like you're fine. Okay. Monsters in real life. But the friend that stayed over, she's like kind of slowly creeping out like, is my friend dead? Did Neal kill my friend? Am I going to find my friend on the floor in blood? That's what she was walking into. I can't even imagine what she was thinking or feeling. The first time that you experience a night terror from the other side and you don't know, like, luckily I think our friend knew that I had night terrors, but that's not something you like to tell people right before you go to bed or like during a sleepover. You're like, hey man, oh man, this is cool. Thanks for having me over. It took so long for this to get put together and to happen, but I'm glad. This is awesome. We should do this all the time. Yeah. Heads up. Sometimes I think that there are evil beings trying to kill me in my sleep, and I physically, in real life, try to kill them even though they're not there. Okay, good night. We'll see you tomorrow morning. We're going to get pancakes. Yeah. It's like, no, dude. Especially with women. Trying to tell a woman that you have that. Especially someone that you're trying to you're trying to build a relationship with. And that's when, that's like the big moment of my relationships. It's not, I love you. I can say I love you all day long. It's, hey, I gotta tell you something. I have night terrors. What's that? I don't want to tell you. And I actually didn't tell Cassie. And I slept over and I had one. I thought one of her cats literally flew inside of my butt. Yep. That was the night terror, I guess. And then I explained to her and she was okay with it. And I was like, yeah, I got to marry her now. Now I got to throw a ring on it. If you're cool with me thinking that your cat flew up my butt and then I got so scared I started screaming and standing in bed and you were okay with it, then yeah, we got to lock this up. Of course, part of me should have also been like, why are you so cool with it? What has happened to you in your life? But yeah, so this one, so you don't normally remember them. I remember bits and snippets, and it's like pointless trying to explain it to anyone. You know, the why ants carrying light bulbs up a wall is a threat. But this one, okay, and this goes back to my last episode because I remember this is what I remember from this night terror. Laying in bed, and I'm thinking that there are people in the room. Maybe not people, maybe evil doers, you know, demons or whatever. And I'm saying to myself that if they replace us, it was almost like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Like, they're going to replace us. We can't let them replace us because then what happens to us? We're gonzo. We're done. Dunions. So we can't let these people take over our bodies. So that's part of it. And then you kind of, I think I'm going to roll over and looked, and it was exactly like I saw a pair of eyes, and it was only a split second. As far as I can remember, it was only a split second, and it reminded me of It. Fucking Pennywise staring out of the sewer, looking up like, hey, come here. And it was just a split second of that. And I was, boop, I'm up, I'm screaming, bloody murder. And I'm like, I have my back against the wall, which I got to give it up to me. Kudos to me. Shout out to me for having the wherewithal to put my back to the wall. That's pretty impressive for someone that's not mentally all there. Back against the wall, head on a swivel. I mean, it almost makes me want to bottle up the night terror into a potion or a juice and inject it into my veins like when I was playing football. I would have been all pro. Just stiff arming people, hurdling, you know, superhuman strength. Whatever is going on, I got to capture it, sell it, market it, and then retire. Get out the rat race based on my night terror juice. But you know, the next day there's a hangover type feeling, you know, but this was the worst hangover I've ever had from a night terror. I'm still like, my neck and spine are all messed up, sore. I mean, I felt like I had the flu or something. It was like I could barely move that Sunday. I couldn't even help with Bree, but my daughter like couldn't help at all. My wife was flying solo the whole time. I was like, I'm really sorry, but I cannot do anything. Like, I can't move. I feel like I've been hit by a truck. And honestly, it's like I probably didn't do that much. I probably jumped up and then jumped down from the bed, and that 2 movements was enough for this 38-year-old to feel like he got hit by a truck. Stupid. So out of shape. All right. Well, that's life. Those are my life stories. I guess we can move on to TV really quickly. Latest TV news. This is kind of incredible in my mind. There's so many. So we talked earlier about streaming services. and all kinds of streaming services popping up left and right. And now the joke on Twitter is like, hey, I'm going to list all the streaming services. And then I'm going to make a joke about like, oh man, if only I could get all this content in one tidy little package or bundle. Yeah. And the joke is, yeah, it's called cable. So I'm probably going to go back to cable. Like you want me to pay like $5 to $10 to $15 per app. And there's like 20 apps. Jesus, dude. It's just, it's absurd. But anyway, there are a couple new streaming services available. NBC has Peacock, which I don't hate it. I don't hate the name. They'll have Friends, The Office, and they're rebooting Saved by the Bell and Punky Brewster. And I don't know that you really need to reboot those shows. I think that's a mistake to reboot those in my mind. And then Seinfeld is going from Netflix to Hulu. Jesus. Hulu. And Netflix paid $500 million, which I got to write a TV show like yesterday. It's just the fact that you can make one TV show and live like 100 lifetimes off that money. Like it's almost like if I make that much money, it's like, well, I'm never going to be able to spend all this in my lifetime. And yeah, I'll give some to my family, but I want to see this all the way to the end, which means I got to live forever. Like if you're a billionaire, that has to be your number one priority. Like a lot of people, they just towards the end of their life, they're like, I give up. I don't have any money. Like what's next? There's nothing left. I have no money. With billionaires, it's like, I have enough money to live to be 500-600 years old. So let's figure it out. And that's where you see like blood swapping and all that nonsense. I get it, man. I'd be right there with you. If it's like, if I have the money, I'm going to pump it into whatever science is going to keep me alive for the longest. But like, if you're Seinfeld or Larry David, I mean, it's been fucking 21 years since that show was on the goddamn air, and they're still getting $500 million. Almost as much money as The Big Bang Theory is getting to be on HBO Max for 5 years. I kind of don't get that for HBO. I kind of don't get it. $600 million to have Big Bang Theory for 5 years on HBO Max. It just doesn't seem like if you're a subscriber to HBO, that's how you're familiar with HBO and HBO series and HBO shows. Are you watching Big Bang Theory? That doesn't seem like there's a lot of audience overlap, but I guess they're just trying to get broader with the audience, and Big Bang Theory is one way to do it. I've never watched one full episode of that show. That's like, that show is in the same category as like 2.5 Men. It just never clicked with me. It seems like there are a lot of those CBS shows that are just like, they hit a certain area of land in this country that is just not close to me. I don't know. And then Guardian released their list of the top 100 TV shows of the 21st century. A little premature if you ask me. But there's probably 25 shows that I have seen. Of course, The Guardian is a UK publication, so they got very UK with it. They had the UK version of The Office, like way above the US version of The Office. And it's like, I don't know, dude, if it was that good. They also have like, I'm just looking here, Freaks and Geeks at 78. Dude, it was one season. And that one season was pretty cool. I give you that. But like, you gotta like, and this is gonna kind of tie in with my talk about Eli Manning later. I know it's kind of like, what? Where's he going with this? How are they connected? But like, one season, dude. One season. You got to give me 5? 3? The Leftovers is on this list, and I think they had 3 or 4 seasons. But like, what if they, like, say Freaks and Geeks had a season 2 and it fucking sucked? Where is it on the list? Not 78. I don't know. You gotta get. I don't know. I'm not. I think Freaks and Geeks is great and everything, but like that's too high for one season. Always Sunny is like 1 or 3 spots ahead of that. Give me a break, dude. They're the fucking Eli Manning of shows. I know it's a Philadelphia show, so I'm sure Eagles fans are pissed. But like, Always Sunny has been on for like what 15 years. And every season has been funny. Every episode is pretty much funny. To be able to do that and have that longevity and to be one of the funniest shows on TV for 15 years and you're only 3 spots ahead of Freaks and Geeks, go fuck yourself. Lost at 71. Blech. I mean, Lost had an opportunity to be top 10. I'll say that. And in their final 2-ish seasons, just like, that's why it almost didn't make the list probably. Like Flight of the Conchords at 65. Okay. The Jinx at 56. The Jinx. The limited series about that guy. That was on HBO. I mean, yeah, it was enthralling. But come on. South Park at 42. That's, that seems like a very British thing to do. Catastrophe at 34. That's very British. Like I watched season 1 of Catastrophe, and maybe this is why there's a disconnect with me on that one. But like 34, dude. Like it's good. And I assume season 2 and season 3 are amazing. And I've heard, and our friend who stayed over said that Catastrophe is like awesome. We should watch it. 34 seems outrageous in my mind. Handmaid's Tale 25. No thanks. Black Mirror at 23 seems appropriate. Arrested Development at 21. I mean, I would put Arrested Development way later because season 1 and season 2 are awesome, and then they went to Netflix, and I don't think I watched the last season or 2. I was just like, no thanks. And it's 21. OJ Made in America at 20. Like, get out of here. Girls at 18 is like, girls. Ugh. Curb 14, 30 Rock 12, Atlanta at 10. Top 10 shows of the 21st century. I don't know. I need to watch season 2. Season 1 was pretty cool. Game of Thrones at 7. Okay. Breaking Bad 5. Okay. Mad Men 3. Mad Men better than Breaking Bad. Interesting. The Wire at 2 and Sopranos at 1. And this is kind of why I bring it up. I went to school in Baltimore, and majority of people that find that out are like, is it like The Wire? Have you seen The Wire? Nope. Second best show of the 21st century. We tried starting it. I think we watched most of season 1, maybe part of season 2. And it was like, okay. Are we just pulling the ripcord right before it gets good? And then Sopranos at 1. So The Wire and Sopranos are 2 shows that I consistently hear the 2 of the best on TV. And I feel like I've given The Wire a shot, and it's good. But you're waiting for something that's like, if I had seen it when there was zero hype, zero expectations, when it came out week by week, and I'm like, wow, I've never seen anything like this show at that time. Then I would be part of that crew probably. That's like, it's the greatest show of all time. But after it's been off the air for years and years and years, and all you hear from everyone is like, you gotta see. It's one of the greatest shows of all time. And you watch it and you're like, because you've seen all these other shows that have been inspired by The Wire. And so you're like, well, this show is like this show. But that show was inspired by this show. So it's like you kind of have to retrain your brain a little bit. Sopranos at 1, dude. Sopranos at 1. God damn it. It makes me, it's like hey, what would you do with a time machine? Like kill Hitler? I was like, I might go back to when Sopranos was first airing and sit down and watch it while it was airing. Anyway, The Guardian, this is their reasoning for Sopranos at 1. And we didn't even get through season 4. And I guess there's maybe 2 seasons left. So that's when, I don't know. Anyway, Anyway, Guardian says this was a show with bigger thoughts in mind. The downfall of the white working class. Okay. Jungian psychoanalysis. Shifting sexual politics. Which, I mean, yes, true on all accounts. The Sopranos hastened TV's transformation into a medium where intelligence, experimentation, and depth were treasured. I agree to a certain extent. I just wish I watched it when it was first airing and not hearing about it all the time for 20 plus years secondhand. That's on me, I guess. So that's TV. Very scant TV section this week. My apologies. Let's talk movies. There's already talk that Terminator Dark Fate is going to bomb like X-Men Dark Phoenix bombed. And the director says the franchise is tainted. God damn it. I mean, like, I just was coming off the high of last week of seeing the trailer and being like, yes, okay, so high on this, cannot wait. And I can't even get to the theater before they're like, yeah, it's going to suck. Oh, that just stinks. And I didn't see X-Men Dark Phoenix, but I know it bombed. But I would have, I mean, this is the thing where you got to pick your spots when you have the kid. Like, you can't have a babysitter every weekend. So you got to pick your spots with the bigger releases, and X-Men Dark Phoenix did not hit with the wife, so we didn't get to see it in the theater. Which stinks because, they keep, they've already kind of done the Dark Phoenix timeline. So it's like, I don't know. What are you going to do differently this time around? Explore something different, man. But the major portion of the movie section of this show is going to be talking about, and I'll keep it fairly quick, Men in Black International with Chris Hemsworth, Tessa Thompson, Liam Neeson, the bad guy from Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. I believe his name is Rafe or something like that, who I wrote a blog about it, and I had some issues with him as the bad guy in that movie. And I kind of carried over to this movie. I felt like I had some issues with him in this movie. It's just something is not clicking with him and me. I don't know. It's on me. It's personal. Apologies to him. But I mean, really what it boils down to is Kumail Nanjiani, the Pakistani comic from The Big Sick. He's the one who pretty much stole the show. I mean, he plays a little alien type creature, probably that big, who is a pawn who serves a queen. His, spoiler alert. I mean, spoiler alert. Stuff happens. Okay, I'll just say that stuff happens. But he ends up serving Tessa Thompson. He becomes her servant. And he's kind of, he's like the best part of the movie. He's the funniest part of the movie because he has got the best lines and whatnot. But he reminds me of, and this is, no one's going to get this, but whatever. The Great Gazoo from the Flintstones and the Jetsons, I believe. The Great Gazoo is like this Martian type character, very small, very green, had a big helmet with antenna. And that character was introduced like later on in the series when I guess they had run out of ideas for a cartoon, which is like, how do you run out of ideas for a cartoon? And they introduced this character, the Great Gazoo, and the Great Gazoo is just kind of like flying around and like making all these quips and whatever remarks, and it widely regarded as like the downfall of the show. The Great Gazoo was universally hated by a lot of people, and they is often used as like the symbol of jumping the shark. Like, I know jumping the shark is its own thing with the Fonz jumping over charks, and that's how it got came to prominence. But the Great Gazoo is like the second most prominent like symbol of jumping the shark. just like, let's just introduce a new character to this dying franchise, and maybe that character will like infuse some energy. And I got that vibe from Kumail Nanjiani and his character. Like, okay, Tessa Thompson and Chris Hemsworth aren't enough for you, even though that blows my mind because they've done so well, chemistry wise, paired together with the Thor franchise. That you got to introduce Kumail Nanjiani. It worked, but it's like, let's not lean on that too much, There were some other issues with it. I mean, everyone that, I watched it with my wife and her friend, and we all just kind of felt like there was just something missing. There was something off about it. And it's like, I know Chris Hemsworth has been applauded and praised for his, comedic bearings, his comedic chops, if you will. But I don't know that he's able to pull off a lot of the jokes that maybe Will Smith did, or even the deadpan humor of Tommy Lee Jones. I don't know. Liam Neeson is not a funny person. Rip Torn was funny. Even just like how Tessa Thompson's character like gets into the agency seems so easy. Emma Thompson, is that her name? So she like sneaks into the agency. She sets up a phony something and chases down or follows the Men in Black to their agency headquarters. She gets in, she walks in past this guard who's like reading a newspaper and very cash about everything. And even he's like, yeah, I know, I should have stopped her. And it's like, it just felt lazy. Like in The Pug from like the first trilogy or whatever is there. And he makes a comment and it's like, really? You're just going to let her walk in? You let her walk in and she like goes up this elevator, and they stop her in the elevator, and they held her captive. And it's like, that scene is in my mind like too short and not emotional enough. Like, this is her lifelong dream, is to be part of this agency. She's already gone to the FBI and CIA, and she's been like, wink, wink, I know. And they're like, oh, what are you talking about? She finally gets to where she needs to be. And Emma Thompson is like this authority figure who's heading up the United States branch of Men in Black. And of course they do a little one-liner to talk about how like shouldn't be called Men in Black. It should be called, I guess, People in Black, Persons in Black, because there are women that are part of the organization and operation. And that interaction with Emma Thompson, is it Emma Thompson? Tessa Thompson and Emma Thompson. That does not sound right. Anyway, there's an interaction and it's like a little back and forth, and they're like, all right, you're in on a probationary period. And it's like, what? I don't know. I feel like there needs to be more of like repeated attempts. Like, here's the first attempt. Nope. Here's the second attempt. Oh, so close. Nope. Here's the third attempt. Yep. In. That's traditionally, I think, would work better, as opposed to, oh, you said this one thing. Oh, she like turned away from the neuralizer. Oh, she knows something. Let's leave, I don't know. The way they handled that, it felt like this doesn't feel fulfilling for that character or for us as the audience. But yeah, so I mean, the other part that I won't go deep into the review, but like, okay, you set up in the first part how she befriends this like alien character that the Men in Black are after as a kid. And we go a pretty extensive amount of time without seeing that little alien character. We're like, in the back of your head, savvy movie watchers are like, okay, that little alien character is going to play a part at some point later on in the film. And then it comes at a point where it just seems a little, I don't know, dude, it just seems too convenient. And it kind of ties into my other point about this movie was you had Kumail Nanjiani and a few other characters talk about there are multiple times where this character Riza, something like that, is mentioned. Arms dealer, like head criminal, notorious criminal who like had a relationship or an affair with Chris Hemsworth's character, and like they were pretty involved. and something went awry, but you don't know what, and they won't talk about it. I mean, pretty good setup, right? Because they're teasing it and teasing it and teasing it and setting it up and setting it up. And so you're like, okay, this payoff is going to be amazing, right? And you have Kumail Nanjiani talking her up. She's the queen of death and blah, 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 and giving her all these like extravagant titles and saying, oh, she's super hot, and like building her up and building her up. And then you see her, and in the first like minute or two of her on screen, and you're like trying to figure out, wait, what? Like who is that? Is that? And that's not good. And, you know, I that's probably just a me problem. A lot of things are just a me problem. I get it. But like, if you're going to make that payoff better or bigger joke or whatever, and you have Kumail Nanjiani's character saying she's so hot and really talking her up, then she has to be either can go the one option is she's not hot at all, or she's hot for her species, but like us humans don't find her hot except for Chris Hemsworth. And she doesn't, you're looking at her and you're like, she doesn't fit the bill of like all these different titles. Like she's the queen of, like she's Daenerys Targaryen, you know, Khaleesi. Like she has all these titles, breaker of chains, mother of dragons. Like if you give her that kind of treatment as a setup, the payoff needs to be, and this is a comedy, the payoff needs to be, she doesn't appear to be that at all. She just appears to be like a normal person or a normal alien. That such a thing exists to us humans. No, it's like they got this actress who, and she's a beautiful actress, Rebecca Ferguson, I think her name is, and she's had 2 major parts that I am familiar with or that I know of or heard of, but I haven't, you know, she was in the 2 Mission Impossible films. I didn't watch those 2 Mission Impossible films. I know they did really well at the box office, so I guess the people who did see them probably got a kick of seeing her as the alien, as this boss alien. And apparently her character was supposed to die in the first Mission Impossible, but Tom Cruise like fell in love with her. Or no, he saw her in some play or something, and he was like, I need her in the next Mission Impossible. And then he's like so impressed with her performance there that he's like, don't kill her off, have her in the next movie. And it's like, that's not the same as if it was like, I'm throwing out a name, Angelina Jolie. Especially if Angelina Jolie is not billed at all in any of the marketing, that's the payoff. Like if you get a big name actress, huge name, Oprah, like someone who has got name recognition all over the world and wasn't billed as like she's in this movie, and you keep that secret, however you do that. I don't know how you do it these days, but then that's the great payoff. You're like, oh, what an amazing cameo. Like Tom Cruise in Tropic Thunder. Matthew McConaughey in Tropic Thunder. You know, it's like those, I don't think those actors or actresses were really that, I don't know. I don't know why that stuck out to me so much, but it was like, I see what you're going for and you didn't accomplish it. And then we never really got any like insight. That scene or interaction between them, those two, it was just felt so like glossed over. You've been talking about those motherfuckers, those two, that couple, the entire movie, dropping hints here and there. And then we finally get the scene where they're together. And it's just like, I'm going to kill them both. And then what happens? Oh, it turns out her bodyguard that looks a lot like the little alien character from the beginning. Oh, it's the same alien. And so Tessa Thompson throws out a line that she remembers from her childhood, and the big bodyguard alien remembers it from being a little alien and is like, oh, okay, well, now I'm at your service. Again, a little too easy. This bodyguard has been bodyguarding this boss criminal for I don't know how long. I mean, he knows Hemsworth. Hemsworth knows him. It seems like they have some kind of like relationship there. And then it's just like, oh, you said the thing, so I'll kill her now. I need more emotional turmoil and conflict You gave no real sense that he was willing, that he was on the precipice or brink of turning on her. And then you say this one line from like decades ago and you're like, oh yeah, we had that brief little thing. Huh. All right, I'll kill her now. It's like, what? Yeah. So, I mean, you know, the ending is what it is. There's a mole in the Men in Black organization. Why she had to go to the this is the other thing I don't understand, but it might be one of those Jason Takes Manhattan type angles. Like, we just got to get Men in Black out of New York City. Let's go to the UK. It's like Saved by the Bell goes to Hawaii, like that kind of thing. We just got to branch out and go international. And they never, and so, you know, I guess they kind of explain it at the end where it's like, that's why we sent you to the UK, because you have no affiliation with the UK and you haven't been there. So there's no way you could have been corrupted. We can trust you, etc. So I guess that made sense. But like, I don't know. It stinks. It just stinks. I mean, it's not a bad movie. I don't think it's that bad a movie. It's just like, if they just spend a little more time on it, developing the characters, the storyline, blah, 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 you know, we might get another one. I don't know that we're going to get another one now. And what really stinks is that this was supposed to be one of the greatest crossover events in movie history, in my mind, because there were rumors and maybe this was actually greenlit and went into production, but never turned out. You had 21 Jump Street. You had 22 Jump Street. People are like, yeah, we'll take a third one. Give us 23 Jump Street, right? And I don't know how long, 3 years ago, they were like, okay, we want to reboot Men in Black. We are going to combine Men in Black with 21 Jump Street. I mean, come on, dude. Who would not want to watch that? I'm a big fan of mashups, love mashups, and you got to believe that like that would have been like that might have been the top comedy movie of all time. I mean, you're getting the Men in Black audience, you're getting the 21 Jump Street audience, Channing Tatum, Jonah Hill, and whoever else wants to get on the bandwagon. Preferably comedy actors, not friggin' Rafe and Liam Neeson. No offense to Liam, I love him, but like he's an action kind of guy. Get someone who's in comedy. If you're making a comedy, get comedic actors and actresses. It's that simple. Kudos to Chris Hemsworth. Wow, butchered that. Kudos to him for being able to adapt and do comedy, but like, get me people who are experts in comedy and pair them with Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum. I mean, that would have, it's almost impossible to fuck that up. And we never got it. And I don't know that we ever will now. And that sucks. But I mean, I still got sucked in to this movie just because of the soundtrack. And even though it didn't feature a lot of the same orchestral arrangements, I guess you'd say, than the first one, you still kind of, it hits that nostalgic part of your cerebellum or whatever, your membrane, and sends you to a different place. But goddamn, it feels like a big missed opportunity. All right, so that's movies. Let's quickly, let's talk Mets. Okay. The roller coaster continues on. Okay. Last week, we sweep the Diamondbacks. Okay. The Diamondbacks were 11-1 in their previous 12 games. They were one of the hottest teams in baseball. They came out of nowhere. One day I look at the wild card standings and I'm like, holy snikes. They're right there. They're like a game out. They're right behind the Cubbies. And we swept them, which is exactly what we needed to get back in the thick of things. And I'm a man who has problems apologizing. I'm sorry does not come easily to me a lot of the time. I hate admitting faults and mistakes. I'm getting better, But, I know when people want me to say I'm sorry, and I'm like, nope, not going to happen. I need to say I'm sorry to Marcus Stroman. Last week, this was before his start against the Arizona, I said, this guy, I give in uncle. This trade was no bueno for the Mets, Los Metros. Okay, we got the raw end of the deal. We gave up 2 top prospects, the Anthony Kay or Tony Buckets, whatever his name is. He's now up with the Blue Jays, and he's now pitching 6 scoreless innings and blah, blah, blah. And then this other guy, is it Dunn? No. The other guy, Richardson? I don't know. Dunn, Kalenic, whoever it is. They're all playing so well, and we all gave them up. And so, I was like, yep, this is, I don't know if it's on par with the 2004 trade with Zambrano and Benson, but give it some time and maybe it is. And then Stroman comes out and he throws his best game in a Mets uniform. And I think it was 6-ish innings. I don't know that he got through 6, but I think he had like almost double-digit strikeouts. We had Juan Lagares hitting his first ever grand slam. I mean, things are happening that haven't been happening. And you get that good warm feeling in your stomach again. And then Stroman comes out last night against the Rockies in Coors Field, Mile High City. That place is a nightmare, a night terror, if you will, for opposing pitchers. I mean, I look at the starters for each of these games in the series, and like every Rockies pitcher has an ERA of like 6. And you're like, oh, we should win easily. Not remembering that like the these pitchers had to play in Coors Field, which is like you just tap the ball and it goes out of the ballpark. I mean, Brandon Nimmo has like 2 home runs in this Rockies series that are, I don't even know if they get to the warning track. It's a can of corn without the juice. I mean, with the juiced balls and the elevation, like forget about it. And all you got to do is make contact and it goes. And Marcus Stroman throws 7 scoreless innings. He's now had 2 back-to-back games where he's giving us a chance, a really, really good chance to win. And if this is the Marcus Stroman we get moving forward, I don't feel so bad about possibly waving by to Zach Wheeler. Last week I was like, I'd rather take Wheeler, pay him the money than keep Stroman. If we have to move him because of the salary, which, salary. But Stroman has come on real strong. And if he can continue to pitch like that, we've got a shot. I know there are a lot of people counting us out, especially after we lost 2 or 3 to the Dodgers. It felt, other than that one first game with Noah where it was 9-2, this series, even though it was 3 games, felt very similar to the first series in LA, where it's like we have chances to win. We're right there. DeGrom gives us another outstanding performance and gets another no decision. Wheeler gives us another solid performance, another 7 strong, and we lose. Conforto, Alonso, McNeil, it's like we're blanked. Gave us nothing. Rajay Davis was our most clutch hitter during that series. Without him, I don't know that we win. I think it was game 2. We get our only W. We almost get swept because our workhorses are the guys who weren't producing at all. The starting pitching seems to be there. I mean, Noah's got his issues, and now there's all these statistics coming out about Wilson Ramos and his like framing statistics, that's how nitpicky baseball can be, and how granular they can get with the numbers that they're talking about framing rate and framing statistics. And I agree, they don't look good. And yeah, he's probably costing us strikes and strikeouts, which turn into runs somehow. I mean, I didn't say Noah was wrong, but offensively, Nito's not giving us what we need. I don't know that Rivera would give us what we need. So you got a decision to make in the offseason, I guess, unless you can coach up Wilson Ramos, which that's tough to do with a veteran who's like, he looks like he should be sitting in a lawn chair behind the plate. Steven Matz. I mean, Steven Matz was kind of the wild card. I think Wheeler has kind of gotten everything under control, but we don't know what we're going to get with Matz every time out the gate. It's like, are we getting a complete game shutout? Are we getting you getting booted in the fourth or fifth because you gave up bases clearing double to the pitcher? Like, I mean, the Rockies hitters have had such great success against Mats that I kind of expected them to lose that one. I was like, coming into this stretch, I was like, they need to sweep the Rockies, sweep the Reds, sweep the Marlins. And, I'm not one for making excuses. And I think I tweeted about this, but no one follows me on Twitter, so who cares? The schedule makers, and I don't know if this happens for every team. It probably does, but I'm a Mets fan. I just follow the Mets. The Mets play the Dodgers at home in Flushing, Queens at night. Again, a must-win game. They battle out. They duke it out. They lose 3-2. Our two best relievers, Lugo and Wilson, give up a run each, and it's like, well, are we overusing them? This is what happens when they're the only good arms we have in the bullpen. Suffer that heartbreak. After being up, I think we were 2-1 or something like that, going into the eighth. And then you get a fly. So the game ends at 10:30, 11. The guys shower, answer questions. They probably get, I assume maybe they go right to the airport. Or maybe they go to bed and get some sleep. It was a good sleep. Probably not. And then they got to fly to fucking Denver, which is, I want to say it's like a 4-hour flight. It's a long flight. There's a time change, and then you get to play that night. So 8 to 10 hours later, you're playing a must-win game in an environment where you're jet lagged. So your bats are probably sluggish. Your arms probably aren't fresh. And you're playing a Rockies team that is just looking to play spoiler. Yeah, you're probably going to lose the game, but where are the schedule makers to be like, hey, give the Mets an off game to give them a chance against this team? Feels like it's the second time this has happened where the schedule has really fucked them. Of course, we come back, so we lose that game, big. And then game 2, we win 6-1 with Stroman putting on a goddamn show. We're now 4 games out, tied with the Phillies. I believe game 3 has already started. It's around almost 4:00 on Wednesday afternoon. So we'll see. I mean, you just got to keep winning. I mean, and this is what it comes down to. And this is what I hope happens. I don't know. The Reds and Marlins, it's like they have losing records, but they're always stick around and they're not just going to roll over. Win this game. I believe you have one more game against the Rockies. I could be wrong. Sweep the Reds, sweep the Marlins. And then you got a 3-game series against the Braves. And hopefully at that point, the Braves are like, what are the Braves going to do? They're going to go all out and try to keep you out of the playoffs? Or are they going to just say, you know what? Let's see what other tools we're playing with here. Let's explore the toolkit, because the Braves are tools. Yeah. So no, this is the final game of the Rockies series. Gotta get it. Gotta win it. Noah's on the bump, which I don't know who they have catching. I assume you can't put Ramos back there, which you sacrifice a bat, but then, Noah's happy. And looking at Ramos's catch framing stats, which is the first time I've ever seen that. Negative 2.9 framing runs, negative 0.7 blocking runs, negative 3.8 throwing runs, negative 7.8 FRAA adjustment, whatever the hell that means. What's funny, though, is Ramos actually, there was a strike him out, throw him out last night, and Ramos looked shocked. I mean, he's the one who threw the ball down to second, and they called him out, and he was like, whoa. So, yeah. Let's talk Mets. I don't know that I have much other than that. I still think they have a run in them. I still think they have a shot. What's crazy to me is that they're now just about full health. Everyone that they really need that's good is back. I don't know what they do next season with all these players. I mean, they have like legit 5 second basemen on the team right now. Panic, Cano, Lowry, McNeil. So there's going to be some shuffling, and I we'll see how it plays out. But it seems like they finally have depth now. They finally have depth, and so to me, it seems like it just came too late, too little, too late. It fucking sucks. But hopefully, like Conforto, McNeil, Alonso, they seem to be coming out of their slump. Although Conforto not so much. But if Cano can stay hot, if McNeil can get back to form, which it looks like he has, and if Alonso, he had a home run or 2 last night, I think, if he can continue improving, then I mean that they're definitely the biggest wild card of wild cards, for sure. I mean, they can be very dangerous, or they can just, who knows, they can be a dud. But like the unpredictability of the New York Mets, I think, is their greatest attribute at this point. I don't know. I got a weird feeling that, and credit to the Cubs and Brewers. Brewers lose Christian Yelich and they just keep friggin' winning. It is outrageous. It's like they've rallied. He's the Gipper. They've rallied around his injury, and everyone has elevated their play, and they just refuse to lose. And the Cubs, same thing. I mean, Rizzo went down. I don't know the extent of that injury, but like to lose Rizzo is a big bet, and to keep winning, I mean, it's just hard to compete with. I still think, I mean, we gotta leapfrog Cubs, Brewers, Phillies, maybe the Nationals. If things play out the way they will. But hell, man, you win this game, you sweep the Reds, sweep the Marlins. That's 6 wins in your pocket. They're at 74. They're at 77 now. I don't know. You crack 80 plus wins, and then you just got the Braves. If they are still in like a game, if they are 2 games out with 3 to play, oh baby, that's going to be. I need tickets to those games. I mean, that's going to be playoff environment for sure. And do the Braves really want to get sucked into that and try to play playoff baseball before the playoffs? I don't know. If any team can do it, I mean, it's the Braves. I mean, the Dodgers had already clinched the NL West, and they still took 2 of 3 from us when they should not even care. They're good to go. Although I didn't know, even though they clinched the West, I think they still have to play for the number 1 seed. So I guess there was still a reason to play, but like still. I mean, the hope here is that maybe the Braves can clinch the East, I guess, as early as tomorrow, Thursday. And then maybe they kind of, since the Dodgers appear to have 1 locked up, just take their foot off the gas a little bit. That'll be great. All right. So that's Mets baseball. Now we get to the heart and soul of the show. Let's talk New York Giants. This is a bittersweet week for me and for a lot of fans. I wrote a very lengthy blog, 2,000 plus words, about the Eli Manning era. It appears as if it's come to an end, even though it really hasn't come to an end. I think everyone's, someone made the joke on Twitter, people acting like Eli Manning died. He's still alive. He's still in uniform, hasn't retired. I really doubt he gets traded. He's gonna finish out the season in a Giants uniform, and I pose this as like an all-time best case scenario, and weirdly enough, the idea came to me via the 2001 Patriots. Not necessarily the same scenario, but similar. In that season, Drew Bledsoe, the starting quarterback for the Patriots, gets his clock cleaned on the sideline by Jets linebacker. I want to say Mo something, Lewis, possibly. He's done. He's hurt for an extended period of time. Tom Brady, the backup, comes in, leads the Pats into the playoffs, gets hurt during the playoffs, Bledsoe comes in, wins the game. They go to the Super Bowl. Brady wins the Super Bowl. I think the Giants, and this is how delusional I am as a Giants fan, but this is me playing fantasy role playing, because it's like a lot of people think the season's over. We're only 2 weeks in, but it's not looking great. Our defense is the worst. So, but then again, our defense in 2011 stunk among the league. I think it was bottom 5 in the league. Our defense in 2011, our 2007 defense in the playoffs was amazing. In the regular season, also not that great. So, maybe it is. We need 2 regular season weeks to gel as a defense. I don't know. I don't see it. I think they're in for a long haul. And I think that's also plays into what Dave Gettleman was saying. Everyone's giving Gettleman shit, and all right, I get it. But he said, let's follow the Chiefs formula, and the Chiefs don't have a great defense. The Chiefs defense is like getting burned a lot. They're giving up a lot of points, but they have Pat Mahomes and that offense who can put up a lot of points. So the theory is let's just score more points than the other team. And I think that's kind of what he was saying indirectly. At least that's the way I took it, is like, we just need a quarterback that can lead our offense to a lot of points, because our defense is going to give up a lot of points. But regardless, getting back to the Patriots like scenario, you can see a scenario where maybe the defense week 3, it clicks, and maybe they don't give up a ton of points. Maybe they still give up points, but not a ton of points. And maybe they make that critical stop, and Daniel Jones leads us on a win. And then we start to click and gel, and we make the playoffs as a wild card. And Jones has a weird, annoying injury that's not, going to keep him out for a long time. But for the rest of that game, Eli comes in with his cape, saves the day, wins the game. We go to the Super Bowl, and Daniel Jones wins. We get the three lie prophecy is fulfilled. It'll never happen, but I like to dream. I mean, we're already at the point in this season where I'm now looking up old Giants highlights and memories and clips just to relive something good and positive in my life. Usually that's saved for after the season, when, like February, like during the playoffs in January, or right around the Super Bowl. I'm like, oh man, remember Super Bowl 42 and 46 and 25 and 21, and remember this playoff game, remember this game. And I just I actually watched the game again. I'm already at that point. Like, the NFL Network released their top 100 greatest plays. They released 70-ish plays last Friday, and then they're going to release the last 30 on this Friday, September 20th. And the Giants have got a couple of had 4 plays. Well, yeah, four plays involving the Giants made the list so far in the top 70. The first one was October 10th, 1988 at Old Veterans Stadium, Monday Night Football. And this is, you want to talk about all-time top villains, like arch enemies, guys that were just killers, Giants killers. Plenty of Mets killers, but there's plenty of Giants killers. And one of the top ones for me is Randall Cunningham. That dude, like, no matter what you throw at this dude, just when you think you have him down, he comes out and makes a ridiculous play. And this is one of them. Monday Night Football. I think the Giants are up 3-0. It's the second quarter. Eagles are driving inside the Giants 5. They play fake to Byers. So Randall fakes the handoff to Byers. He rolls right. Carl Banks is right there, just sitting and waiting for him. Banks attacks, goes for Randall Cunningham's legs, knocks his legs out from underneath him. So Randall is horizontal. And I guess he just puts an arm down or something, pops right back up. Snaps right back up and throws a touchdown to his tight end. And they go up 7-3. He pops right back up and throws it and gets smoked by Harry Carson. And it's like, if anything is off but just a split second there, maybe they have to settle for a field goal. Maybe the game turns out different, and maybe we don't finish 10-6 with the same record with them. And the Eagles win the tiebreaker because they're also tying 10-6, but they swept us during the series. I mean, 10-6 and missing the playoffs, just such a horrible feeling. But yeah, 10-6 and missed the playoffs because we had the same record as the Rams and the Eagles, and we lost them both. Carl Banks called Randall Stretch Armstrong, and Darren Deardorff called Randall Plastic Man. And Banks finished by saying no other quarterback could have made that play. Yeah, you're damn right. I don't know anyone in that era that could make that play. I mean, obviously Michael Vick, but Vic was just a child during that time. The next play was number 80, at the 81 spot, Mark Bavaro's catch. Well, I was kind of surprised by this one. I mean, as a Giants fan, I love this play, but I didn't think it's like 100 greatest plays in NFL history, dude. 100 years in the NFL, and this is number 81? Whoa. Mark Bavaro's catch against the 49ers on Monday Night Football. This was December 1st, 1986. I was 6. I was a new 6-year-old, just turned 6. And it was 17-0 at the half, and I was like, Dad, I'm going to need to stay up and watch this because I got a feeling that they're coming back. And he's like, no, you're going to bed. You're 6. It's like 10 o'clock at night. Get your ass in bed. And so I was like, you promise they're going to come back? And he's like, yeah, they're coming back. He's probably thinking, no way, dude, it's 17-0. And I wake up the next day, 21-17 win. Booyah. But the biggest part of this, other than the comeback, was that I missed this catch and run. Giants were at the 50, moving from right to left. Sims drops back, hits Bavaro at the 40, right at the first down mark. Looked like maybe just a stop pattern. And he catches it, turns. He has a linebacker dive at his legs. The linebacker just kind of slides off. Has another linebacker kind of just hop and jump from behind and like slides off. Ronnie Lott comes out, and Ronnie Lott is like a heavy hitter, dude. I mean, Ronnie Lott's one of the toughest dudes in the league ever of all time. I mean, I think he broke his pinky off during a game. Like, dude. And he goes for Bavaro. He kind of makes an arm tackle, which I thought was weird. And he kind of like goes for the ball, and Bavaro carries him like, I want to say 10 plus yards. You have a linebacker come out of nowhere and whiff, kind of like just catches a little piece of Bavaro. You have a D-back take all 180 pounds of himself and just hurl himself at Bavaro and kind of like bounces off. And then you have 2 more Niners come and like hop on the Bavaro train, and he eventually goes down at the Niners 17-yard line, dude. I mean, it's 23 yards of him just like fending off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I mean, 7 guys had a chance at him, had a shot. It took 7 guys to bring him down. It's like insane. And I think the best part of it was Ronnie Lott said that all Bavaro wanted was his respect. And he said he got it. And it's like, you wish some of the guys, and I know I'm going to sound like such a fucking old timer, but you wish some of the guys had that kind of Bavaro type mentality where it's just like, I want your respect and I'm going to get your respect. Stop worrying about the numbers and start worrying about getting that first down and like refusing to go down. I don't know. Frank Gifford. I love that Frank Gifford called him one tough cookie. Not how I'd describe Mark Bavaro, dude. One tough cookie. What? Number 72 is Mark Ingram's catch and run in Super Bowl 25 with the Bills. I did get to see this. I was 10 years old. We were living down in North Carolina. We like just moved in down there. I think we just got like a new TV too, a new big screen TV. So I was like, yeah. It was bittersweet because I was a big Phil Simms guy and Jeff Hostetler was starting. And I was like, I want the Giants to win, but I don't want Hostetler to do so well that he usurps Phil Simms. And, but I mean, Hostetler I think he got a game ball. He deserves a game ball for this because it could have easily got out of hand. It was like 10-3, I think, at some point. And he gets sacked in the end zone, and he somehow holds onto the ball. So it's a safety, but if he fumbles the ball there, Bills get it 17-3, and you're like, this game's over, dude. But it's a safety. It's 12-10. And eventually the Giants are driving. It's 3rd and 13 at the Buffalo 32. So they're kind of not really in field goal range because like Matt Barr was old. I think 40 yards was his max. So they're not necessarily in field goal range. 3rd and 13. So Hostetler drops back. Throws underneath the Mark Ingram, which is one of the funniest, like, it's not even a nickname, but it's one of Chris Bermanisms. And it's like, you know, he had Chris had Callaway. And then, you know, he had all these other names, but it was just Mark Ingram. Thought that was like interesting. But so Ingram catches it at like the 25 or 26, well short of the first down. Catches it, jukes a guy, hard stop, jukes a guy, spins off another guy, has a guy on his leg and is just like lurching forward and gets the first down at the 19. I mean, it's one of the best catch and runs. I mean, obviously it's more impressive than Mark Bavaro's. It's higher up on the list. But to hear Tom Coughlin explain it, because they interviewed Tom Coughlin so he can give his take on it, who's the wide receivers coach at the time. And to hear him talk about it, he was just like, so it's the most animated I've seen Tom Coughlin because that's his guy. And that went a long way. I think they ended up scoring. It was 12-10. Sorry, it was 12-10 at that time. But I mean, they score the touchdown there, make it 17-12. Eventually win 2019. So, you know, that was a huge drive. One of my favorite plays of all time. I mean, that was just like, one of the biggest effort plays, just determined out of his mind. And then the last one is the Manning to Manningham. Remember when Eli Manning made those throws? Super Bowl 46, fourth quarter, 3:46 remaining. 1st and 10 from the Giants 12. They're down 2, 17-15. And Manning drops back. There's somewhat of a pocket. Looks like he's drifting right and looking right. And then he kind of just swoops back left, takes a step back left and chucks it. And, I looked at the yardage on this and it was 38 yards to Manningham down the sideline. And what makes this play so great, so it's a great throw, all-time throw. I mean, like you had, I think Chung is credited with the tackle, which that's kind of funny because Chung's now going to get rung up on coke charges, I guess. Just doing coke in New Hampshire, man. Sounds like a good time. So in between the cornerback who had amazing coverage on Manningham, because Manningham wasn't necessarily a burner, and the safety coming over, which I guess Chung was the safety. So whoever the corner was had decent coverage. I don't know if it was McCourty, but I mean, Eli had to drop that ball exactly where he dropped that ball for that to be caught. Now, the thing that makes it, that throw, so the gain is for 38 yards. Eli threw that. I think he threw it from the 5. And it hit Manningham's hands at like the 45. Or maybe he threw at the 10 and it hit Manningham's hands at like the 50. It's 40 yards in the air on a line, accurate. Like if he throws that 1 more yard too long, incomplete, 1 yard too short, incomplete, right, incomplete, left, anywhere else, it's probably incomplete. Maybe gets intercepted. So, I mean, it's a dime, but for Giants fans, the thing that makes this play so great is Eli gets a lot of credit, but Manningham, if you watch any Giants game with Mario Manningham, you are guaranteed to see 1 to 2 plays per game where Eli throws the ball to Manningham down the sideline, and Manningham catches the ball completely out of bounds. He just has He had zero self-awareness when it comes to the sideline. No boundary awareness. Like, hey, getting close, need to stay in bounds. Nope. He would just run out of bounds and catch it. And you're like, dude, how does that, what are you doing? How does that benefit us? So for him to stay in bounds, catch it, and also stay in bounds. So to run in bounds, not run out of bounds, then to catch it in bounds and stay in bounds, it's a modern miracle. Because I don't think that happened a lot during the season. And we don't see a lot of plays like that from Eli anymore. And do I think Manning should be benched? So the top 30 plays are going to come out Friday, September 20th. You'll probably see the helmet catch. You'll see OBJ's one-hander. You'll probably see that stupid miracle in the Meadowlands with goddamn Deshaun Jackson, who's another Giants killer on that list. But we don't see throws like that from Manning anymore. I don't know that he's willing to make that throw anymore, even if he has a renewed arm strength. And I don't blame him. I was surprised when they named Daniel Jones the starter. I was surprised because I think it's a little too early. And I think you're assigning blame to Eli. Eli didn't make enough plays in week 1 and 2. But even if he makes those plays in week 1 and 2, I still think you're 0-2. I really do, because this defense is the worst. And what sucks is Eli has to fall on the sword. I don't know that you win those games if Daniel Jones is the quarterback. I think you come close, maybe closer. But to blame him is absurd. And I wrote a very lengthy blog post about this, just showing you that Eli had 2 careers. He had the first half of his career from 2004, his rookie year, to 2011 when he won his second Super Bowl. And then he had the second part of his career, which was 2012 to 2019, which was, for the most part, a nightmare. It was the complete opposite of what the first half of his career was. He had a winning record, albeit not a great winning record. He only had 1 losing season during that first half of his career, and it was his rookie year when he went 1-6. After that, not 1 losing record. I think 8-8 was the worst record he had. 2 Super Bowls, and I'm convinced that second Super Bowl, when he won that second Super Bowl, I think Jerry Reese got it in his head that this is a superhero type person. That, because Eli had, the 2011 season for Eli was his best season. I think he had some 6 game-winning drives and fourth quarter comebacks. And I think Jerry Reese thought Eli Manning wears a cape. It don't matter who we throw out there around him. He will pull us out from the depths of hell and save the day every time. And that wasn't the case. That was the peak. That was the zenith. That was the pinnacle of his career. And I think Jerry thought, wow, this is what we're going to get every year. That year, 2011, they had the 27th ranked run game. Their defense was bottom 5. And Eli just kept, 6 game-winning comeback drives. 6. They were 9-7 that year. They could have been friggin' 3-13. 3-13. Now, say Manning doesn't win those come from behind wins, and the team goes 3-13. I think you have a lot of people calling for Reese's head. Maybe Coughlin might be in trouble because 2008 was their previous playoff appearance when they got bounced in the divisional round after getting home field advantage. Oh my God. 2009 didn't make the playoffs. 2010 didn't make the playoffs, but Eli put up some really great numbers because he had Steve Smith and did he have Hakeem Nicks? In 2009, yeah. Hakeem Nicks and Manningham. So he had a pretty decent receiving trio. Not great, but combined, they are, pose a threat. So he put up some really good numbers, and you start to see like, okay, we can start to rely on Eli to throw the ball. We maybe don't have to run the ball at all like we did in 08 and in 06 and 05 when we had Barber and Brandon and all that jazz. And I believe if we go 3-13 in 2011, you start to see the GM be like, okay, Eli's not the problem, and we need to help him. Instead, Eli saves the day and completely masks the problems. And I wrote about this like in 2017 when he might have been when Eli was benched, maybe before that. Was Eli Manning masked the Giants' greatness, and he fooled, he fooled Jerry Reese into thinking that they had a team, that they had a good team, when in fact they didn't. And you can see that because the 2012 draft stunk. David Wilson was the number one draftee from that class, and he played a season. The next season he was out of the league with the neck problem. Who knows where the Giants would have gone if he didn't have the neck problem and he continued to play. It's like maybe we would have made the playoffs one or two times, but it was all downhill 2012 and going forward. And then he drafts Odell, and Odell is a generational player. In 2014, Eli's numbers skyrocket. His production goes way up. And again, Reese is like, all right, nailed it. We got this. No, you don't got this. You still need an offensive line. You still need a defense. And he ignored those aspects of the team for so long. And so long that it did affect your quarterback and your star wide receiver, to the point where your star wide receiver thinks that the quarterback is a joke and is kind of throwing him under the bus. And it's like, Odell, dude, look at your fucking offensive line. Look at your defense. That 2015 season is the downside, or the complete bizarro version of 2011. 2015, your defense couldn't make the stops. They couldn't be the Eli Manning of 2011 and win games for you. 2016, we get Janoris Jenkins, Damon Harrison, Olivier Vernon, Landon Collins is in his second year. And they are able to make the stops. Those game-winning stops. Because remember, that was pretty much all 2016. It was like our offense, for whatever reason, we don't have the ball with 2 minutes left in the game. The other team does, and the defense is a step up. And Eli didn't have a great season that year. Again, because I don't think that line was that good. So you have Odell, but you don't have a great offensive line. You don't have a game-changing running back. Shane Vereen is not all he's advertised, cracked up to be. Maybe you're not using him the right way. You don't really have a star tight end like Evan Ingram. So they went years. And so you can blame Eli all you want, all like the Cowboys fans and Eagles fans, Redskins fans, the entire rest of the NFL, partially Giants fans, and say that Eli has been a bum since 2012. Okay. I mean, sure, he's made mistakes. He made some bad decisions here and there, but I don't think he's to blame. I think because of what he did in 2011, Pro Football Focus, said that it was one of the top 10 displays by a quarterback of all time, that 2011 season. The season, regular season, postseason, no other quarterback has been able to put a team on his shoulders and win like Eli Manning did. And if you are a Eagles fan, Cowboys fan, whatever, who's an Eli hater and you can't say that, then you're fooling yourself. The guy was one of the best quarterbacks and was maybe the best quarterback in the league in 2011. Give him what he was dealt, the hand he was dealt. Almost no run game. I mean, that game, the NFC Championship game against the 49ers, he threw like 60 some odd times. I mean, he got hit almost 20 times during that game. I mean, clocked by very large men.
who are very strong and going at very high speeds. I don't know how he made it out of that game alive. One of the all-time performances. But you still have to surround him with someone, with something. No, he's not Russell Wilson. He's not Drew Brees. He's not Tom Brady. He's not Aaron Rodgers. He's Eli Manning. And, you know, I think you give him the right opportunity and he can prove himself. But when you run out the team that they ran out, that Jerry Reese put together, and I put a lot of the blame on Jerry Reese, especially at the 2015 season. So 2012 is when it really went downhill. It really stopped working for Manning. I think he still had a good year in 2012. 2013 was the year that he had like 20 some odd, 7 interceptions to 13 touchdowns. I mean, lots of freak interceptions, batted balls, tipped balls. I mean, freak interceptions that are just, it's not his fault, but you don't see that in the score box score. You just don't see that. You don't see an asterisk with receiver had both hands on the ball, let it slip through, and it went to a defender. You know? I mean, they had no running backs in 2013. They brought in Peyton Hillis and brought back Brandon Jacobs. Peyton Hillis was like forever concussed. No offense to Peyton. I was like a big Peyton Hillis guy. Can't believe he made the cover of Madden. But, you know, just ran through running backs. David Wilson was gone. Bradshaw was gone. And Giants offensive line gave up a lot of sacks that year. They had next to no receivers. Victor Cruz was your only threat. Again, tight end that they brought in, I think it was Brandon Myers, was kind of a dud. They just didn't have anyone on offense. Then they get Odell. And now they have a threat with Odell and Cruz. And then what happens? Cruz goes down with an injury that pretty much ends his career. I mean, he was out all 14, most of 15, and came back in 16 like a shell of himself. And the offensive line that they had during their Super Bowl runs, Kareem McKenzie, Chris Snee, Rich Soiber, David Deal, Sean O'Hara. I mean, these guys are Pro Bowlers. Who did you have after 2012? You saw Chris Snee leave. You saw David Deal retire. You know, McKenzie had gone out. Will Beatty had suffered a torn pec. I mean, like, they had no one. They had Justin Pugh and Weston Richburg were their 2 best offensive linemen. And Justin Pugh was always hurt. And Weston Richburg kind of just, I don't know, burned out, was asking for too much money. And they said, no, thanks. We can do better. So, yeah, I think it's the offensive line and it's the defense. That defense in 2015, if they make stops, we go 10-6, we make the playoffs, who knows what happens? That, for me, the 2015 season was just like, man, so close to being 2011. And what do? We fire Coughlin. And then what do? We give Coughlin the player, we give McAdoo, this offensive guru, this offensive coordinator who's supposed to be a genius, who worked with Aaron Rodgers from Green Bay, his time in Green Bay, and he's been given the credit for all the numbers that Eli's putting up with Odell, even though it's pretty much Odell, for being honest. And he's given credit, and they don't want him to go to the Eagles because the Eagles were courting him. And so they pushed Coughlin out, and they make McAdoo the coach. And I guarantee that's when it was like 2012 was the beginning of the decline for Eli. And then if you look right after the 2015 season, it was boop. That was it. That was the cliff. And he just fell off a cliff. Tom Coughlin was like a dad to him. And I didn't think it was that important. I was naive. I was stupid. I thought Tom Coughlin's just a coach. And this old coach is out of touch. He's lost his touch. This team is not responding to him. A lot of people were saying that. And it turns out Then you end up watching Tom Coughlin's press conference where he's announcing his retirement, quote unquote. And he's looking at Eli, and Eli is like crying in the front row. And you're like, oh boy, we just made a major mistake. Because Eli doesn't have the same relationship with Ben McAdoo that he did with Tom Coughlin. And he tried, and Ben McAdoo stressed and emphasized getting the ball out of Eli's hands. Why? Well, partially because he thinks his philosophy is you get the ball in the hands of the playmakers quicker. They can make plays earlier before the defense can react, blah, 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 blah. Meanwhile, he did that because there was no offensive line. He had to. Eli had no protection. He had no time to let plays develop. And so they thought, you have to get your ball, the ball out of your hands in under 3 seconds, closer to 2 seconds. So you get a lot of short shit that once in a while Odell can break to the house. And what you see in 2016, Eli had one of his worst seasons. Sure, we went 11-5. We went to the playoffs, but that offense stunk. Let's not sugarcoat it. I don't know if the numbers show it, but like that defense was the second best defense in the friggin' league. And our offense, I don't know how the defense did that because the offense was never on the field. 3 and outs. Put a lot of pressure on the defense, and defense rose up and it was one of the best defensives I've ever seen in my life. And after the horror and the tragedy and the trauma of 2015, where we blew 5-6 games in the final minutes, you had the similar feeling in 2016, but then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we made a stop and won. Oh, we made another stop and won. Oh, we made another stop and won. And you just came to expect it. But what happens? That continues in 2017. And we blame Eli again in 2017. He lost Odell. He lost Brandon Marshall, Sterling Shepard, maybe one other wide receiver. All his top receivers gone. His running back, Paul Perkins, just lost his mojo. And it's mostly because, guess what? The offensive line stinks. John Jerry is your starting guard. Marshall Newhouse was starting at tackle at one point. Bobby Hart is starting at tackle. These players are average to below average offensive linemen. They're not Sean O'Hara and Chris Snee and David Deal and Kareem McKenzie and Rich Soybert. They're not those guys. And it showed. And 2017 was a nightmare. But 2011 could have been 2017. 2011 could have been 3-13. And that was the beginning of the end. It's just hard. It's hard because I've been his biggest fan and I've been his harshest critic. But like, he got benched in 2017 for Geno Smith. Ben McAdoo went to him and said, hey, we want to continue your consecutive start streak. What do you think about starting the game? And then we bring in the backups when the game gets out of hand, probably. Although he might have made it sound more ceremonial than that. Then it was just a gesture, like you'll take one snap and then we'll take you out. And it's like, I don't know about that. But I wasn't outraged by that. The team was already eliminated from playoff contention. And as much as Eli wants to play and says he has to be out there and he loves to win games, dude, these wins are meaningless. I know you love the game of football. I know you love to win. Let's just pack it up, dude. Let's find out what we have in Davis Webb. I don't know. They should not have started Geno Smith in my mind. maybe you start Davis Webb, and if he shits the bed, then it's like you go to Geno Smith and you see what you have with Geno, because you kind of know what you already have with Geno, but maybe you think a change of location might do him well. I don't know. I would have put in Davis Webb, because it's like, this is the next guy. This is supposedly your future. You put Davis Webb in and see what he's got. So I wasn't mad at the move per se. I thought, why are we starting Eli Manning? Well, how bad would people feel if Eli Manning actually did get hurt, because that team stunk and the offensive line was horrible? And it's like, what if he gets clocked and tears an ACL or Achilles, or something really bad happens to this guy in a meaningless game? You would feel like shit. Get him out of the game. Hey, let's come back in 2018 when we're retooled back to health, fully healthy. So yeah, maybe McAdoo saw something and got it right and knew that Manning's days were over or numbered. Okay, maybe we can give him credit for that. But maybe also was McAdoo's shitty offense combined with Jerry Reese's lack of scouting and roster building and talent management. It can be all those things. So as much as we want to blame Eli, it's like he didn't have a team to work with in 2017. But, then what do? You don't start Davis Webb. You continue to start Eli Manning. You don't know what you have in Davis Webb. And what do you do in that draft in 2018? You draft Kyle Lauletta, a fourth rounder of Richmond, which says to me, and I guess McAdoo might have mentioned this, Davis Webb is not your guy. So you whiffed on a guy in the third round, a quarterback in the third round, like whiffed. If you're not even willing to give Davis Webb reps in the regular season, you have whiffed. And I thought Geno Smith could have been like the Kerry Collins-esque type quarterback, where it's like a little bit more of a veteran, been in the league a couple of years. Maybe he's gotten over the yips from his earlier years. He's matured, and he can be the bridge, 2 to 3, 4 year bridge between Eli to the next franchise quarterback. He can give us average quarterback play while we find our next franchise quarterback. And that was completely not the case. Geno stunk. Although I don't know that he didn't enter in the best circumstances, and we didn't give him much of a chance, but whatever. You don't give Davis Webb any reps, and then Webb looks like absolute trash in the 2018 preseason, and you cut him. And I guess rightfully so, but what did you see in Davis Webb? They spent a third round pick on him thinking he'd be the next future franchise quarterback, and he didn't even make it 2 seasons. And he's gone. And now Kyle Lauletta, you draft in 2018, he gets arrested, and he's supposed to be something you can maybe turn to in the future. He gets cut this preseason. And all the while, you are not drafting any offensive lineman that can help you outside of, you made a first round pick on Eric Flowers instead of Todd Gurley. Yikes. And Eric Flowers turned out to be one of the biggest busts in NFL history. And I cannot believe he's still starting somewhere. I think he's a guard for the Skins. That was your left tackle. Your left tackle is your most important position on the field, and that guy sucked out loud. D-F grade. And that's the guy protecting your 2-time Super Bowl MVP quarterback. I mean, how am I supposed to chip with that going on? How am I supposed to play football with that left tackle going on? You didn't give Eli a chance. You failed Eli. 100% failed Eli from 2012 on. You failed him. You didn't give him a running back until 2018, Saquon Barkley. All-time running back. That is the move to do. But if 2017 was such a nightmare, and if McAdoo is so opposed to Eli and sees the cracks in the foundation and says he's not the same player he was in 2011, and McAdoo wants to move on, why are you drafting a quarterback in the third? And why are you not doing what they did this year and draft a quarterback, one of the top quarterbacks in the first? Pre-draft, Leading up to the draft, I became warmer and warmer to Saquon Barkley. Everyone wanted him to take a quarterback. Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Josh Allen, Josh Rosen. You gotta take a quarterback. You can't. I don't know. I get very, upset with Eli, and I've been so critical of his play, which is so, not right, because I have no right to criticize. Should be the title of this podcast. But God damn, man, you can't really blame him. The 0-2 start is not on him. Seeing how this defense performs, they'd be 0-2 regardless. And the offense moves the ball, but they're not scoring points. So yes, that's on Eli. He's the captain of the offense. And he's got to score points. But he can't kick the field goals. Missed field goal. He can't catch the balls. Evan Engram wide open over the middle. Goes right through his hands. Get open. Protect, the offensive line is good this year. So here's the deal. You finally gave fucking Eli Manning an offensive line. You finally gave him a running back. Why did we re-sign him? Why didn't we cut him, save some money? Because you got him the things that he needed to succeed that are 7 years overdue: an offensive line and a star running back. And you finally gave him those two things. And what happens? Golden Tate suspended 4 games, Sterling Shepard concussion, Darius Slayton hamstring, Corey Coleman ACL. I mean, the only thing I can say is, okay, why did we trade Odell? If we still had Odell, would we have these problems? Well, if you still had Odell, you wouldn't have Kevin Zeitler. I don't know who you have at right guard right now if it's not Kevin Zeitler. I guess maybe you put Spencer Pulley in there. Is Spencer Pulley playing at the same level as Kevin Zeitler? I don't think so. Is the offensive line as good? No. Are you able to run the ball like they have? 7 yards, 8 yards a clip with Saquon? No. Is Jabril Peppers Landon Collins? No, not yet. But you're gonna pay Landon Collins $10 million plus a year to stop the run and not cover? And you cannot already rule that a bad trade. You can't say the Browns fleeced Gettleman just yet, dude. You have no idea what you have in Dexter Lawrence and O'Shane Ximines. Ox. Those two guys could be Pro Bowlers. So you got 2 Pro Bowlers for 1. You just don't know yet. 2 weeks, guys. 2 fucking weeks. Who knows what Betcher's got cooked up? Maybe he simplifies the game plan. Maybe he says, Baker, I want you playing press on these motherfuckers, and I want you to stick them and keep them at the line and don't let them go. And maybe that changes the whole thing. Janoris Jenkins calls out the pass rush after the Bills' loss. He says, I can't cover a guy for 10 seconds. And Lorenzo Carter was like, yeah, no shit. We need to get better at a pass rush. So they know what they've got. They know what they got to do. You didn't give Eli enough time. What the hell were you expecting in 2 weeks from Eli Manning? Given the defense that we have. Now, it's totally different if you have a defense and say that first week is not 35-17 or whatever the hell it was. If that first week is 20-17, 21-17, and that second week is not 28-14, it's 21-14, 20-14, 17-14. If any of these games are a scores difference, field goal, touchdown here, I get it. I get it. I mean, I don't fully endorse it, but I think you have to give Eli more time. You have to. It's 2 weeks. Bills have one of the best defenses in the fucking league, and we ran it on them and put up yardage and just not points. The Cowboys just had a bunch of missed opportunities. We're also not full strength in the receiving department. Shermer's play calling hasn't really been stellar. So, Eli falls on the sword and takes it with class, as he always does.
But to say that this is the end of an era, I don't think so. I don't know. I got a feeling something is going to happen down the line here, and we have not seen the last of Eli Manning, and all these tributes and memorials are going to be missing one little section. That's the final chapter where Eli shows he's still got a little something in the tank for the New York Giants. I love the guy. You know, I know he gets hated on nonstop. I had to listen to these fuckers on Barstool. Yikes. That's my cue to wrap it up. These guys on Barstool Radio today on the Yak just like hammering away at Eli Manning. It's like I guess he's an easy target, but guess what? He's also Easy E, and that's the shirt I'm wearing right now. Easy E. If you can see the video, holding his 2 trophies, and that's how I'm going to remember him. Before the Giants and Jerry Reese and management allowed this to happen to him, just didn't surround him with talent. Didn't give him the help that he needed, and not say ruined, but like really put a major dent in what was an all-time career. First ballot Hall of Fame, not first ballot Hall of Fame. I don't like. Does it matter? He's a Hall of Famer. He's going in the Hall of Fame, and to say that he shouldn't, if he stopped playing after that 2011 Super Bowl, does he get in? Probably, yeah. Joe Namath is in the Hall of Fame. I mean, you know, I still think there's something left to give for Eli Manning, and I think it's going to happen. I really do. I cannot see him going the rest of this season not seeing a single snap. I think they got something planned. I think it's going to be big. It's going to be real emotional. So from Eli Manning's harshest critic, this is me saying I love Eli Manning, and I'm already watching like his highlights, his most memorable moments, biggest comebacks, and just taking it all in. He's not going anywhere. And I said this in the blog, like he's not going anywhere. He's going to be very visible. He's going to be mentioned every broadcast for years to come. He's going in the Ring of Honor. They should retire his number. And I hope I don't see it happening, but maybe I hope he becomes a part of the Giants organization, continues with them, and hopefully imparts his wisdom, speaks up, and, you know, we'll see. All aboard the Dan wagon. Danny Dimes, it is your time. And I can only hope you pull off a half of what Eli Manning has done, because that will be successful. We're not asking for a lot. Kerry Collins got us to a Super Bowl. Jeff Hostetler. And I think we've got something in Daniel Jones. I was very bummed when we picked him, and because I believed everything I read and saw and heard secondhand. I didn't watch the tape. I didn't listen. But now we've got someone who's better than expected, according to a lot of people. And now we get to put him to the test. And now we get to see, hey, this isn't just Eli's clone. It's a different version of Eli 2.0. And I think he's got big things that he can do for us. Don't know that, I'd like to see us make a run, but I think we're going to stick with 5-11, 6-10 as the record. But, oh boy, if he can adapt to the game speed, how things are different in the regular season, watch out, dude. Because my man's got legs. He can move. He's not afraid to throw the ball. So, Eli Manning, you will forever be in our hearts and minds. I know everyone's laughing at that because it's like one grown man talking to another grown man who's the same exact age as me. But I've grown up with him. I see, like, it's like looking at me. I feel like I am him. And I know that's egotistical, narcissistic, but it's like I see him out there and I feel like I'm watching myself. And that's why I'm very hard on myself. And that's why I'm hard on him. But I mean, you have to appreciate everything that he's put up with.
Not a fan. I wish he was more fiery and emotional, to be honest. I'd just be like, you know what, fuck you. But that's just not him. So it is the end of an era, regardless. But I don't think the credits haven't rolled just yet. And that's all for this week's show, this week's episode. Please call this voicemail, 862-BIT-1986. Just call it, leave a voicemail, leave your feelings, thoughts on Eli Manning, on the Mets, on apple picking, on Men in Black, night terrors, whatever. Just let me know what you're thinking. And until next week, adios, muchachos.